Firestark, and all of a sudden, this fight has completely turned on its head. Underrated, holding off the push coming in from Rebel, and Underrated will win the game. Oh, the double kill with the Kraber. Landing directly in the middle here is a risky play. You have a handful of players in the vicinity. Nox gas grenade in hand. There's the enemy bubble, and that's what we were talking about. They don't have a bubble of their own, so they're just going to go take the enemy one. Defenseman Bardman is laying on top of them. They have to cover. He's taking a lot of damage. They know there's a couple of rats here, but base has to survive.
Oh, taking a lot of damage right now. Rebel, the team that got second place last time around, decided it was finally time to take home the win.
It's got a Kraber as well at the perfect time to go across.
Do what they can, maybe bubble out and just try and survive. That's exactly what they're going to do. They take a little bit of damage, but make a little bit of damage. There's a Caustic ulti as well, and Fenerbahce just wiped the floor with Alliance. And now it's all up to Exaco. He gets one. OJ Reigns trying to do what he can as well. The Spitfire starts to sing as now Invictus Gaming get involved as well. Exaco goes up to the high ground, but it's going to be Invictus who survived the longest and will close out the final game of the day as your champions.
And there you have it. A major congratulations to Kick Esports. Going back-to-back this week, by the way. They won the Code Red tournament earlier this week. Kick Esports currently on fire. Invictus Gaming continues to perform as the rising stars of the ALGS Pro League. They've looked so strong. Rebel with a must-perform week, and Alliance doing Alliance things, placing top 4. It was a great day of action. Rain Day, what stands out to you the most watching that recap video?
You gotta say, you know, Onset got me going with the siren song of the Spitfires singing. It's not a melody you want to hear because it'll lure you to sleep, and that'll be the eternal sleep, by the way. And one of the best parts about it was Bren showcased himself as an upcoming star. We talk about Hardeki. There's so many of these Alliance hockey. There's so many of these like RPR and Matafe, these players who have stood out for a long time. Bren hasn't had that moment yet, and now he's getting it, and that's what I love, the development of stars right under our eyes based on big-time performances throughout these weeks leading into playoffs. So what story will be told today, that's what I'm excited to find out.
Yeah, that's the super exciting part. And as a result of the action from day number 7, let's take a look at the overall standings for the ALGS Pro League in EMEA. Again, this is week number 4, so it's coming down to the wire here. Vicky, talk me through what you're seeing on screen.
Oh, I'm seeing these top 10 teams wanting to secure the spot in the playoffs. Of course, we have right now, we are week number 4 follow, and it's exciting to see how some of these teams have still remained consistent. You got teams like Maestro just performed right there in week number 4. This is the only other squad right next to Gambit that have been able to win more than 2 games in a week, but they need to keep that consistency if they want to maintain that first place spot. Looking at the performance that Kick were able to perform just on Friday.
Yeah, you know, you see in those top 10 as well, there's several teams, probably 4 or 5 of the top 10 that haven't played yet. So that means it's time for A&D to maybe push some players, push some moments up in terms of that that leaderboard. But when you look at some of these other teams, like 69IQ Esports will have a chance to lead today. And not as Vincere, a kind of dark horse for me, who I saw play last week in an Arenas tournament. They have the potential with a big day this afternoon to actually change things up and maybe kick some of those teams out of the top 10 and put themselves in a position to qualify for playoffs. So it's going to be up to maybe a tried and true effort from Not as Vincere with a little bit more critical awareness of when to make their move that's going to solve that problem.
And we have our Group A versus D participating teams today. You mentioned Na'Vi. I'm excited to see what they can do. But we got GMT, Nasky, Serdell, Badoli, who have had some good top 2 finishes. Of course, we got Gambit, the heavy hitters. We got Scars, Future Perfect, 69 IQ, and their new roster. We'll talk about that here in just a moment. Zeta Division, let's see, France has been performing very well. This is a stacked roster and lineup here. A scary, scary lobby indeed in Group A versus D. But I want to take a moment to just mention, you see a blank spot at the bottom left of your screen. Well, why is that? We've had some changes in rosters and unfortunately a disbandment. Uwu Owo Catboys disbanded, which means we will no longer have to say Uwu Owo Catboys as casters live on stream. But jokes aside, sad to see Lemic, Crip, and Vakes go. We're not going to see them for the rest of the LGS Pro League, but hopefully they bounce back with new rosters in split number 2. But continuing through, there's other kind of singular roster changes as well. 69 IQ Esports traded, make that marquee trade. Joined 69 IQ, and I had a chance to watch them in Code Red. They leveled up their gameplay significantly. We'll talk about underrated in a second. We got Nemesis, ASCII joining in place of CMB. Young Money Guild, Buck joins in place of Gonzalez. And for FigFam, Desert UK joins in favor of I Just Pew Pew. Keep in mind, rosters can only change one player, otherwise they disband. You can't change 2 rosters because you're basically changing your whole team at that point. And I mentioned underrated. The swap with 69 IQ, Harold joins this team, and they performed, Rain Day. They performed and got top 5 on Friday, so far it looks to be a favorable trade.
Yeah, and sometimes you just get that instant boon, that positivity that, hey, life is new, we've got new changes, everything I know in the past is gone, we have a whole new future ahead of us. And with a team that hasn't gotten the results that you wanted, sometimes you start to look at the future as a bit dismal. You don't know how to change it. So that roster swap, albeit just one player, can make a huge difference. And, you know, they could have a bright future.
Absolutely. So we talked about a lot of teams, a lot of rosters, a lot of names. However, it's time for one of my favorite segments of the show. It's our Lenovo Teams to Watch. Vicky, Rain Day, interested to get your thoughts here on which 3 teams you selected as analysts to watch for today. And of course, we got a little highlight package for each of them. But Rain Day, we're going to start with you. Who's your team to watch here in this one?
Well, I don't think it's a surprise. If you have eyes, you're going to be watching Gambit, because not only are they the most winningest team almost in European history, they've honestly been able to continue dominating within this split of playoffs, finding themselves at the top. Question is, can they continue? We'll have a great chance to watch today, but nobody else that you should watch except Hardeki. The man knows how to clutch better than almost anyone I've seen Europe or North America. That's why they need to be paying attention to.
Yeah, you know who else has been right up there with Gambit? You got Le Site de France being another one of those teams. They've been top 5 in every Pro League week so far, with week 3 being the only week that they didn't win a game. And so with those consistent squads being right up there in EMEA, you also have Le Site de France leading the way. We're going to also see if the break has treated them well as one of our teams to watch. And you know, a squad that's actually right up there with Le Site de France is Guild.
I love Guild, and the fact that they've had their weakest showing in week 3, placing 9th, but they've been able to bounce back with solid, consistent games, which they haven't won yet. That's the craziest part about it, but they're tied with Maestro for 2nd. They're actually finding themselves in 5th here overall in EMEA. I think that's just a beautiful testament to the in-game leadership of Matafe and how these guys synergize so well in final circles. Definitely pay attention to them.
Yes, we got Guild, we got Le Site de France, and we got Gambit as our 3 teams to watch. But again, so many rosters in this lobby. We got Scars, FigFam, 69 IQ with Case Swinney on the team and their debut in the LGS. I'm excited to see what they can do. But this has been your Lenovo Teams to Watch.
Wings up. We could cruise over here. Shotgun.
Storylines are certainly not of shortness here, as we have so many storylines coming into this one. A lot of great discussions to be had. One thing to keep in mind, one of the biggest ones, is the bottom 8 teams will be relegated at the end of the Pro League. So the teams that are currently at the bottom 8 of the standings, Rebel was there or near there. They performed on Friday. Will the teams that are there right now perform as well? That is the question. So many storylines certainly going into this week. But we got our talent predictions now, and I'm interested to see. Let's pull up the graphic. Our predictions for the day, and oh my goodness.
Bingo!
For the first time, we got Gambit Esports selected by each and every single one of us. Big Yo, let's do the honors. Why do we have Gambit here for all of us on screen?
I mean, I think it trickles down to what I was saying earlier. You got Gambit and you got Maestro, the 2 teams that have been so consistent, being able to win multiple games in one day. We got Maestro here, but we got Gambit in the A versus D lobby, and Gambit has just been on a tear. I feel like it's no surprise that we've all decided to pick on Gambit, because this is one of those squads that we also have on our teams to watch for a reason.
Yeah, I'm excited to see, will Gambit continue to run Wraith, Hardeki on Wraith, or will they play Ashe in that new meta? We've seen a lot of teams run Ashe on Friday. I'm excited to see that and more, as guess what? Game number 1 is loading, is ready to go here. So I'm going to go ahead and throw it to y'all as we get ready for game number 1. Ladies and gentlemen, type in the chat, get hyped, because game number 1 is here. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Fallout. Man, what a time. Me and him, last time I was on camera with him, we were dressed up like Miami Vice, about to go for a night out on the town. However, today, it's you and me, Vicky. We're going to keep it a little bit more classy as we head into our first match of the day. I'm excited, though. What are you looking forward to most in your eyes as far as what Game 1 might set up as far as storylines for us?
I think the biggest thing that we need to look at today is some of these roster changes and how it's going to affect some of these squads. We saw how it played a hand into Friday's matches. You guys were talking about Rated, and that's the reason why they were in that top 5 spot, even winning game number 4. But I'm interested to see how that's going to play into today's teams, especially since we have to talk about the incorporation of Ash being here, some of the changes as we go away from the little break that we had some of these squads take.
Well, Ash, the newest legend in Apex Legends, coming out in Season 11, Escape. Will she be able to escape the choice, however, of being selected here as part of the Pro League? I doubt it at all, but she may not be as prevalent as some might have assumed. Ash, obviously, some of the more in-game leader roles, the scouting role, the more aggressive role that the Wraith might provide, but of course doing it in a way that's a bit different, and we haven't found that kind of settle in and kind of take its grip amongst the entire meta of Europe. But Vicky, one thing I do enjoy about Europe is they tend to try things a little bit more steadily. They tend to be a little bit more consistent than North America, and they also tend to be willing to improvise. For example, Loba, something we see in Europe all the time that is extremely successful that we hardly ever see in North America.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you mentioned that, because that is the type of different compositions that we see away from EMEA, away from NA, and now seeing the circle and where it's going to be pulling towards. 69 IQ are very happy with this as they do land Thermal, so the circle already going to encapsulate Thermal Station, so you're going to have to expect some of these squads to make those rotations as quickly as possible. I'm looking at some of these squads that have already landed on Tree. They want to get that beacon as quickly as possible, and Lecite de France also taking trials, and we saw some action happening earlier in Skyhook with 2 other squads. So I'm wondering here if Lecite de France, they can loot up quickly, see where that circle's going to be pulling. Maybe they could go in for the third party with Skyhook.
Yeah, there's a lot of different dynamics in how you want to play this one, especially the fact that you have to shout out not only 69 IQ start there, but so did Na'Vi, who in this final week, I got the chance to see them play a lot of Thermal Station in arenas. It's one of the maps that you play that transitions from BR in games to the unique arenas mode. And Na'Vi were particularly good at it, and we noticed the pro teams tend to have a lot of experience. Why? Because, well, we see a lot of Thermal Stations in BR, and here's just another one to prove that point. A very aware of the location ending play spots for all of these legends types, for all of these players type circle, which means it should even the playing ground. But like you mentioned as well, Vicky, Lecite de France, they got a long way to go, starting at basically the most northern side in trials, but they will have that goal to save their appetite while they make the long journey away.
Yeah, they're already rotating towards Skyhook too. We talked about some of the compositions, looking at Ash, but we also have the Valkyrie that has been out since the very start of the season, and that's also going to be something to look at with a lot of these squads on the side of the map. And all with Thermal, you're going to be able to inspect those redeploys. But whoever gets that sniper tower in the middle of Thermal Station, they're going to be the squad that's going to be sitting extremely happy up there, maybe wondering, could it be a Loba squad where they're not going to deny themselves loot, perhaps? We're going to have to see, because that is a prediction that some of these squads are going to be taking after they do manage to scan these beacons to see where that circle is going to be pulling over Thermal.
19 squads still remaining. That means one has gone down, an untimely landing and encounter for them. Of course, starting off immediately dead is tough, not only for the morale. You've got about 40 minutes to wait and watch, but you don't really know what went wrong. You don't get a chance to play. Luckily, though, Phoenix, Legacy, and the squad taking a couple of shots as they make their rotation through this archway, but nothing too serious. Mr. Arthur on a gold as well on the Bloodhound would be fantastic, especially when that ultimate starts to pop. Fast movement speed, fast heals. Not much of a better combo there, but look at these guys. The team we spoke so much about already in one of the best places to hold in Thermal. This little edge where it often ends, and you can play low ground or high ground on here, Vicky, but this is one of the most consistent ending zones here in Thermal. So great spot for Gambit to kind of lock down early.
Yeah, something that TSM has actually noted, they usually always rotate towards this side, and Gambit replicating that right now. They're not directly underneath the sniper tower, but look how many squads have already rotated here, wasting no time. Of course, we did start the game today with Uwu Oo Catboys not in this lobby because they're, you know, just like you were saying earlier, you don't even have the chance to play at that point, and they won't be the ones to play here. Instead, it's going to be Gambit that we were highlighting.
That's right.
Side.
That's right. Great reminder. You reminded me as well. Vicky doing a great job of letting us all know that typically you would know someone died. Nope, that's Uwu Oo Catboys who just have not joined this lobby. So you're going to be seeing 19 all of a sudden every single round, but don't worry, that doesn't mean that someone made a fatal mistake. Even I have made a mistake more so than these teams. So that's great to know. Thanks for my partner helping catch me out here. But Scars trying to get in there with a nice early Valkyrie ultimate. And to me, Vicky, this is when you use the Valkyrie.
Yeah, the redeploy, you're always going to have to take those 50-50s because you don't know how many squads have already rotated this direction. With RPR already taking some of that damage, they're not looking too hot on Evo shields too. They got the 2 whites, they only have to issue with purple, and already forcing out the dome, losing their shield.
Missile strike coming in, and easily with the shield though, and he's out of it. And that's going to be a while before it comes back, so 20 plus seconds on it. So Mandy has to do whatever he can here. Gambit have eyes on them, but do they want to push Hardeki with the 3 times on the Hemlock? Enough to say, you know, I'm content there with wasting some resources. He's on a white. So just be careful. This is the key point here. You want to clear anybody out that might be a problem towards your in-game rotations. This is definitely a concern, so pay attention to Gambit and Scars heading into the next round here. Of course, round 1, still a minute 45.
I love how you highlighted Hardeki earlier on in the pre-show too. Hardeki being one of those top players from this group, super clutch player too. And you see the way that Gambit is playing this position, they're not insty here. They're just going to be able to hold this spot, looking at a lot of the chaos happening around them, noting where some of these squads have already rotated. And they do have the redeploy, but like we mentioned before, there's probably a squad already holding on to that sniper tower, it looked like, as we can see that silhouette. And Gambit Esports don't have a Bloodhound because they're running the Valk. So they could only kind of scout out where those squads are currently just with this spot. You can see Hardeki even taking a peek, and the Crypto Drone managing to get some intel here as Gambit still is holding this corner.
And it's an interesting approach, truly. And you can see it's going to work out for them at least until this final 10. But the issue is in Europe, unlike North America, you will see not a final 10. You'll see a final 14, 16, sometimes 18 when it gets to these circles until round 3 or 4. There's just so much more patience. One of the things I love about seeing in these lobbies, Vicky, because there really is this kind of respect, and there's also this level of, you know, why take an overwhelming risk if we don't need to? What is the payoff of getting 3 KP when we could be surviving to earn that 3 KP just in placement before we start fighting and wasting our resources?
Exactly. That's why you see a lot of these squads make these rotations really early because they want to hold that last circle position. I mean, we were talking about it before since we were noting Loba being played in these EMEA lobbies, but look who's already on the sniper ground. It is a Loba squad. They got there first, so they won't even be denied loot because they have the black market that you see another squad taking shots at. So aside from that, the traffic control here, Rain, is a little congested. You got 2 crypto drones also flying around this entire lot, also noting how many squads are already in the area. So with a beacon being in the area, some of these squads that are running this crypto composition don't even have to overextend to get that information, but it doesn't look like there is going to be a beacon usually on the building that is right next to thermal station.
Oh, and you got to show love to my boy Phoenix. Back in times past, I'm not going to mention the game, but I have casted this guy, known him as a friend, seen him in person at many events for many years, back when I was doing some other work here in esports as that.
Well, you know.
Are not going to be done with us for today because while EMEA may be done here on this Saturday, guess what? North America is right around the corner, so make sure to join us here 4 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. BST. We are going to be joining it for all of the NA action. And if you want to keep up with us in the meantime, go ahead and follow us on all of our socials. Roll that graphic. It'll be twitter.com/PlayApexEsports. It'll be @PlayApexEsports on the YouTubes and @PlayApex on Twitch. We are there. The journey has continued to begin. So, hey, listen, we are just getting started.
But they have used position in different ways, so they adapted G2 and they get their second victory from 3 games.
Yeah, honestly, that God spot was insane, and they were able to play their advantage perfectly, made sure that when they made that push, it was at the right time, that it counted, and because of the timing, they were able to still have a lot of their utility at their disposal. I mean, maybe you're the good luck charm here, Bardoff, because you talked
Hey,
about G2.
If I'm the good luck charm, that's the darkest timeline. That's super, super weird. We'll see what Rain Dave thinks of that as he comes through. G2, Dave, they're a team we've been looking for a performance like this for weeks, and finally, we're getting it.
I mean, James, Glitter, I know you guys are catching your breath. I had a chance to catch mine off air, so you didn't hear the huffing and puffing of the excitement that was going down. I mean, Tom mentioned it as well in our talent chat. It's rare to have so many full teams in such a final circle, but that was kind of the beauty of where Thermal ended up allowing us to kind of see some people playing far, far edge, like Esports Arena, teams double stacking on certain buildings and then playing on those outside crates. But really, the story of these last 3 games has been one that we predicted, but also couldn't predict. Kind of this outlier jumping up and stealing the show.
What do you think is over
G2
here?
winning back-to-back games. But if we go into our recaps here, I mean, you started out Esports Arena. It was a team we were talking about. Can they perform? Can they improve? And in game 1, they certainly showed they could.
Absolutely. I think, you know, one of both our winners today, I think, had different kind of questions coming into this. But of course, it's all eyes on Esports Arena playing today. Are they going to turn up with their new team? Certainly did. They went deep in that last game as well. Of course, it was a very awkward situation. I think for many of those teams towards the end, just trying to make any movement there is almost suicide. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. They had a deep run. Difficult position, but again, coming out with that first game was a huge statement, and I think it was necessary for the psyche of the team and the confidence going forward with the new roster, where they have to have some doubts in the backs of their minds. That's a very important result for the team.
Yeah, and it's not just the teams with their roster changes too, but it's the teams that needed to get some points. We're seeing them doing it as well. And I know that when we're specifically talking about G2, that they weren't in the same type of bubble situation as some of our teams that are closer to like that 20th place were. However, G2 was in a position to need to make a push if they wanted to get more of those points that we were talking about when we go all the way back to the way that the playoffs situation has changed format-wise. The higher they can get in that top 10 placement means the more points they get towards the match point in playoffs, and that's also huge.
And G2 has been a team that, hey, Nick Merckx was just retweeting them right now saying, show the boys that you're better. And the ability to bounce back and take fights, they've always been exceptional. But James, it feels like G2, with the amount of skill they have in a 1v1 situation or a 3v3 situation, it's not really fair if they start to do all the other things right, because it seems like this team is going to be unbeatable if they play at this level. I
cannot wait to see those wingman shots in the dying moments of that third game. They were so satisfying. But indeed, they're a team whose style I enjoy. With, you know, the way they played Wraith, I've said many a time, of course, the style changes, but become arguably more aggressive with Ashe. But again, that was an awkward angle to try and do something with an Ashe, but they played their position so well, so they're adapting to the different scenarios and having a massive day of Apex Legends, which is great to see. And it means that we're going to have them more in a conversation towards the top, as I feel like they've had the potential to be in these previous weeks, but haven't quite made it in as devastating fashion as they have so far today.
Yeah, honestly, they have just been so impressive. At this point, if they're going to continue playing this way, I feel like we might have goofed a little bit with our predictions, only because this is the type of momentum that once it gets started, it's a little bit hard to stop. We've seen it out of teams like Sentinels before, but this week it just happens to be G2.
What I see stopping momentum like this is more so the team than any other team, right? I feel like they figured out this lobby, and as long as they don't overthink it and make adjustments that would throw off what they're already doing so well, they're in the driver's seat. It's going to be up to teams like 100 Thieves to see, can we continue to be involved in these final circles? And also, Esports Arena, can we bounce back? They've been closing those. Another team to mention, Complexity. I've got my eyes on them because they were heavily involved, guys, in this final circle as well, and got quite a nice point total heading out of Game 3.
Yeah, definitely. Another team we were looking at earlier on as well. There are definitely some notable names on Complexity, and they need to put some pride behind those names as well. And there's still some more games for them to do even better than they were able to do here. We can see them late on here, Shiny and Monsoon, but I think that they potentially have more in them in the remaining games to come. But please, we don't see the wingman shots, man. They were like a tray full of sliders. They were just beautiful, juicy, and made me very
Filet
hungry.
mignon
indeed.
sliders?
Absolutely,
Oh, man.
yeah.
Oh, man.
Only the finest.
Only the finest right here. You know, I really love what we're seeing in Apex Legends, especially in North America, where typically in Europe, we see one contest at the top. We see a little bit more evening out between the top 8 teams, where NA typically has 1, 2, or 3 show-stopping go-getters, and everyone else is trying to keep up. Right now, yeah, we've got 4 pretty close in the top 4, but we've also got that 5, 6, 7, 8 hanging around, even 9, hanging around within striking distance, specifically Torrent looking good with Rogue and Rambo subbing in there. But G2, the big story right now, 2 games in a row, back-to-back Sentinels, who every single talent piece picked to win today, only 3 points behind, and 100 Thieves, formerly bottom 20, sitting in 20th place, right outside of the playoffs, having a monster game today with 32 points, and the leader in NA Arena, Esports Arena, with 30. So we are setting ourselves up for a heck of a finish. That was just game 3. I'm so excited to see what happens over in game 4. I mean, are we seeing anything here that you feel is going to stop this trend? Or, if anything, what could get in the way of what we're already looking at?
I think what we've seen so far has been pretty great. I think we've got lots of stories towards the top half of the table. But again, you've got the likes of, I mean, we looked at SXG earlier on. We've got more to see from them. The likes of Furia as well. We've seen some sparks of brilliance, but turn that into a big forest fire, of course, only figuratively. And we want to see more from those guys. But, you know, success for a lower team will come at the cost of somebody else. So maybe we want teams to make their way to that top half of the table and fight for the
And honestly, I know that, you know, I was just saying that maybe G2 might be outshining Sentinels right now, but Sentinels have still been quietly consistent. They're still in a really solid spot. I mean, in game 2, they did take down 10 kills, I believe, and so they are at that level of aggression that we're used to for Sentinels. They just haven't gotten that win yet, but that's not to say that they can't still in the next 3 games.
No, they're clearly doing enough. And G2 having 2 wins, they're 19 and 18-point wins, where let's just combine that with the Future Perfect win we saw more closer to 24, 26 points. It's not quite the same level. We'll see if anybody can have that big one. And if you guys think you know who it's going to be, make sure to use hashtag ALGS when you tweet at us at PlayApexEsports, or watching this live on YouTube at PlayApexEsports, or catch us for the VOD. Make sure to hang out with us because, of course, we are acting on all of our socials and talking Apex all day long. That's going to do it for game 3 and for, of course, James and Glitter. We'll be back, though, with game 4 coming up right after this.
I'm in trouble. I'm down. Enemy close. Enemy very close. Grenade out. Getting shot at.
Wanna fly? I make a great wingman.
Fence them in, fence them out.
This is your champion.
You know what is scary? Not having Lifeline by your side.
Looks like I'm the jump master. Lucky you. Three down and locked. Let's land over there.
Hell yeah! Coming in hot! Coming in hot!
Wings out. Reloading. Good night. That entire squad's gone bye-bye.
Nice kid.
Charging up my shields.
Welcome back, everybody, to the ALGS North American Pro League and G2. Twice we've been calling out their names so far today, Tom. 50% of the games have been won by G2. They have been looking extremely strong, and in fact, I got my maths wrong. We've only had 3 games. We're about to go into our 4th. But, I mean, what has been the difference maker for you so far? Because G2 have looked like the G2 of old, and we've been missing them for so long now.
I think that they just found their sweet spot in terms of just bring the vibes back together. I really think that they're a team that thrives on being a very aggressive team. If in order to do that, you have to be hyped up with your comms. They also got gifted the zone going on over towards thermal station. So if you're able to defend home court, you love to see it if you're G2. But just like we said after they won the 2nd game and their 1st game overall, we're like, hey, this is a team that doesn't just win 1 game in a best of 6. If they win 1, you can expect them to win multiple. Well, it didn't make us wait long for that.
Champions out.
Well, let's see if they can go and maybe improve my math slightly, which is a task that nobody is going to be envious of. But G2, I mean, they have been superb so far. I think you summed it up perfectly, Tom. Momentum is all that G2 need to find that form that we know they can have. This side of the map is certainly a good thing for them as well. That 2nd circle was definitely in their favour, but I just want to see where this zone's going to be going, because if G2 can put a few more points together, they certainly will be in contention for that 1st place spot, and I'll tell you what, they're going to have the opportunity to do so now as we head right towards the tip of World's Edge.
Apex, give it this Apex, take it. You love to see it after having some southern zones over towards where Heart of Thieves lands, over where G2 lands. Now, teams over towards this northern side, especially Complexity, who owns all of that north side, basically all of Survey, all of Epicenter, is going to be loving that. Meanwhile, all these teams on the southeast, they have a long trek. Valkyrie is going to be king here in all of these decisions. I'm curious to see which one exactly this way is going to pull on over towards. But going back on over towards G2, they have a lot of different facets that they could play. There's so much variety in the way that they play. They're a team that can play the middle. They're a team that can play the edge. I think they're stronger coming in from the edge than they are predicting the zones, even over towards thermal side. So I'm excited to see exactly how many kills they could put up when they have to make their way all the way across the map, or if they're going to meet that same fate that they met in game number 1 where they fell to Sentinels.
Well, let's see what happens for G2. They do have a long way to go, like you mentioned, but this is the test, right? This is what we want to see. It's not just about having the zones fall in your favor and taking advantage of them. Sometimes you've got to go uphill, so to speak, and you've got to work against where that zone is and fight your way through some teams who are going to be there before you are. But Luke Wires are always looking pretty confident. G2 looking at the armors, a purple and a couple of blues to leave with, as well as a nice 301 with a purple mag on it as well, and a backpack is always going to be a good thing. But looking across the leaderboards at the moment, Esports Arena again in that top 5 in the last game, making a pretty good run towards the end. What do you think the secret to their consistency is, Tom? Because, you know, we talk about them as one of the best teams in North America, and they've kind of come, with all due respect to them, this season they have come out of nowhere with that consistency at the top of the table. Why do you think they've been so good, even with the addition of a new player this week?
Well, I think that the player that they replace is just as important as the other
I'm the
two
jump
players on the
master.
team, because it is so
So the first
difficult
round's on you.
to go in that type of situation. But I think that it's just the amount of practice that they see that in the way that they were, like you
Let's
said,
make a
coming out
varsity
of
play for the
nowhere.
deck.
They're
I
constantly
love this part! Coming in hot!
That's the only way you're going to get this good hit. It just doesn't magically happen overnight. You have to put it in work. Team Esports has been putting in work through the Esports Communities, playing every Tuesday, Wednesday, playing on the Wednesday, playing on the pro day, and just grinding it out. And now they're playing with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, right? It's great, you know, for Vorholz to go and sign with TSM, right? That's going to really help him out in so many different ways for his career. But at the same time, you got to be thinking, hey, what's up with us, right? Did you leave because you wanted to go and join this org, or did you leave because you really think that these players are better? Yes, they have been known as the best players in Apex for quite some time, but you have to say that you deserve to be up there if you're Duplex and if you're Skittle. And Nock has a chip on his shoulder from the way that he dropped off C9. So it's exciting to see how these players are going to work together and how hungry they are after that.
It really is a fascinating story, these three gentlemen, not just Duplex and Skill like you were mentioning, but Nox, I think you kind of reminded everyone, right? He has had a rough time. He was on that C9 roster that we were raving about at the Apex Legends Global Series Championships, where they came so close to being exactly that champion. And it was just a few opportunities that slipped through their fingers, and Nox was one of the stars. But for now, we've got an opportunity to be a star once more on the team who is currently first place overall. Sentinels have had a little bit of an up and down day today. They're third place overall in the standings, so they will need to look to secure a few more points in these final 3 games. But early on here, look at this. SSG in a little bit of trouble here. This is going to get the knock onto Frex.
They're in a lot of bit of trouble. I don't think they're going to be able to get out of this one after Space Station unless they're able to pull off a miraculous res like G2 did in game 2, so we'll see what they're going to be able to do. Double E. Wow, and Fury coming through and getting that knock. He's going to go for the flush as well. Meanwhile, dropped. He gets charge rifle across the map there. So that is going to be Space Station going out. And you love to see that when your teams are aware of other teams rotating. They played so much that they understand Space Station is going to come and try to push through that choke. It's not going to happen with that player. We saw how sneaky they can play. They're also pretty aggressive here. We'll see what Tricky Hagulo and Tech
Bridge and maybe try and find an angle. They were looking for third party. Mano a mano here. 3v3 situation as Tech is looking to push up. He's got that Arc Star in his hand. Damage, but 14 reply. Not going to be particularly good. Built by Gamers inside for now. Flash damage now, and Furia, who are looking to be the aggressors now, are looking to play off the back foot because that damage is going to slow the push down. And look at Tempest. He's saying, you want to push us, boys? We'll teach you a lesson. Tech gets dropped. What a combination of shots coming in from BBG, and now it's a 2v2 all of a sudden. Things are looking a little bit different. Things are looking a little bit shaky, and it will be Furia who turn it around.
Wow, how does Furia get away with that? Zeratricky and Hakulo just working the entire team. I mean, Tempest, I love the way that he's
close, and it's a good thing. Only have 30 seconds left.
Out of the get-go, out of the bubble with the Massive. All of a sudden, some angles get taken, and they run straight after these kills without focusing one player at the same time. A 2 versus 3. Furia just taking it to him. That is not expected from any teams in this lobby.
10 seconds and the ring's
especially
just
with how
ahead.
good Tempest, Wicked, and Sync are. Amazing plays from Furia.
Rings up.
To the brim, so to speak.
Half the
It is
squad's
going to be
bought the
popping
farm.
off.
We got this.
But now they're going to have all the loot to play with as well, and now they can kind of play a
Outside
little
the
bit more
ring.
passive as
Move
they work
unless
their way
you wanna
towards
get
zones. They
barbecued.
have secured those early KP. Now Esports Arena making their way towards zone, although the zone is going to be winning the foot race for a few moments as they take a few moments just to... Now, this is a very interesting move for me from Esports Arena. Where's their next position going to be to play? Is it going to be inside of Fragment? Are they going to take a bit of a wider wrap, where they may be thinking a little bit of a quieter area of the zone? But they're actually going to be dropping down here. So as they land, let's jump into a listen in now with Esports Arena.
Supplies coming in. Fence in position.
Charging up my shields. There's a chance.
Grenade.
I'm down.
They're shooting. They have no bubble. We can push this. Almost broke one. You're good. Let's push this. They have no bubble right now. Hold on, I'm putting a thermite. Trying to take my thermite.
I'm looking where they're eating.
Kills a kill leader.
Might be right. I don't know where to see them. I heard a door. I think they just ran through the vault. They got off.
Wow.
I can hit beacon already.
Wait for me, wait for me. Give me more thermites. I'm just gonna bubble you. I hit it.
Alright, then I'm back in the game.
So I've got a question for you now, Tom. Is that Sentinels recognizing that they didn't have bubble, or is that them recognizing that's Esports Arena who are pushing them and showing them quite a bit of respect?
I think it's a little bit of both, to be honest with you, and also it's fairly early in the game, right? So you don't want to make any major mistakes and get that goose egg in terms of replacement. When you look at this zone, there's still a lot more work to be done, and the amount of levels of gatekeeping and just the layers and layers of teams that are going to come forward over towards this fragment side is so difficult. But this is where you have to be very careful. Anytime you rotate from the train tracks on over towards fragment, there are teams just looking in the window and
Thanks a
outside
bunch.
the window, excuse me, for the players that are trying to make their way in. Meanwhile, 100 Thieves with the risky Valkyrie deploy coming through with most likely the zone information that they need onto zone number 3. So that's going to be very valuable going forward. A little bit of epicenter to track out to try to make their way back on over towards the zone. But this spot looks safe for now, and they'll be able to do some serious game.
Very interesting. It's going to be a zone where there's not a huge amount of cover to be played with. You see it's just pulling away from Survey Camp towards Epicenter, like you mentioned. So that height is going to be difficult for some teams, but moving down from there is going to be pretty difficult in that end game. Speaking of difficult, OXG, well, they're running on fumes right now. Kupski is the last player alive, and Arkstar on his screen as well. The knockdown shield should take care of that, but with Hambino down in front of him, Protectful already out of the game. This is looking like OXG might unfortunately be falling out of the lobby here in 17th position.
This knockdown shield is so strong, especially when it's the purple one. He's just dodging all of these grenades, taking one for the team. But I like what Kupski's doing. He's chucking a grenade to push the enemy players off, but it's also to distort the sound of it, because you know that when you run into Apex, you get a little bit of that sound cue, but they're not messing around. They're tossing the entire kitchen sink at Kupski, and he's just ticking away, barely gets that syringe off.
Yeah, that was, if that was a 3 count in wrestling, that was 2.9. That was about as close as you could possibly get. And he managed to kick out at the last second. He's also managed to get the res off somehow, and it's the Gibraltar who's back on his feet. So OXG, who I said were running on fumes, have found a way to breathe once more. Still a 2-man, but 2 is 100% better than 1. And now they're going to have a little bit of time to just slow down. And with the amount of teams that are in the vicinity here at Survey Camp, nobody's going to be willing to push them, knowing that they're going to be in the line of sight of so many other teams. Speaking of line of sight, Sentinels are taking a little bit of damage here. Sentinels is going to be forced to back off for just a second, but it looks like they've got that damage done, and now Crust and Senox are going to be flying forward. They do get the elimination they were looking for onto Force. And now they're going to be moving up onto this bridge, and Sentinels just look like they're starting to hunt their prey a little bit here. You can see it in the way they're moving towards these fights. It looks like they might be a little bit angry of how the lobby has gone so far.
Sentinels and moving back don't typically go in the same sentence, but this time they're moving back so they could just move forward a little bit. And going back to Kubsky, getting Hambino, that was actually a little wrestling match. Hambino's desperately got his arm out and it's shaking really, really fast, and he's trying to get tagged back into the fight, and Kubsky was able to deliver that. So really great job working together there. Inside the zone where that truck building was. I believe that was Furia adding the pressure on over towards the side. Squad trying to survive and gather all those points, just like Glitter mentioned. That bubble is so important. Those teams outside of the top 20. Not only that, but the teams that are fighting to try to avoid the relegation too. Keep in mind that our top 32 teams are going to be guaranteed their spots.
Furia down at the bottom of this drill tower inside of Epicenter. You saw the 100 Thieves. You might scaffolding just outside of this building as well. So they've made a little bit of a transition from where they landed from their Valkyrie Skyward dive to where they find themselves now. Pretty difficult position to hold down because there isn't a huge amount of cover, and you can already see the mate is trying to see if he can peek out. A little bit of damage done. Vayne taking some damage from different angles though, and that's what I mean about this little scaffold punch. It's so difficult to be aware of where you're getting shot from. Furia though is a little bit of a problem again. Players down, but players being picked up now, and it was the damage actually being done by Complexity.
They're gonna have double gold bags. Tricky is gonna allow that to happen with the gold bag if he's gonna be rocking that. The team is gonna be doing that as well. Meanwhile, G2 are gonna have to move. We'll see if Gentrifying is gonna have that skyward dive. He does. They get to a safe spot behind the building. They don't waste their bubble as well. And as long as Designful doesn't get ripped apart here, he's the weakest one on the team, they should be A-okay. So there it is, free skyward dive on for G2, and now we'll find out exactly where they're gonna go.
I think it was Esports Arena who were very, very close to them. We're having a little bit of a skirmish, so GT decide that they're going to try and get ahead of things here, and they're going to go in towards zone. However, a little bit of damage is going to be taken on the way down, and they're not going to be landing on their own. There's going to be some company up on top of this building, and G2 who have looked so good today, unfortunately, are going to have to do something to stabilize here. The bubble is down, the defensive bombardment will follow it up, which will allow Gentrify to get back to his feet, but what's the next move here? This is looking like they don't really have anywhere to play. They might try and slide under this staircase, but can they survive before they get there?
Gentrifying gets knocked again. Designful with the Ash ultimate underneath the building. He should be able to grab that banner. You have the respawn there, but I don't think that G2's going to be able to pull this one off.
On my shield.
Without right here, it's going to be really possible going forward with all the players that are in the vicinity. You can see Astro would immediately light them up, and that's exactly what they're doing. Designful is going to drop. Resulta is going to drop. Now I believe Gentrifying, still that last player alive, is living, but just a matter of time before Strussel Esports goes and pushes that one. Unfortunate situation there for G2. I mean, so many teams coexisting already towards the end of the circle. You have to predict that, but how else are you going to push forward without making yourself visible to the rest of the players? Bubble was a little bit late. They got a little bit split. There was a little bit of miscommunication on where exactly they're going to land, and let's see what Esports Arena is going to be able to do now in a very similar situation.
Replicator
It's
incoming.
almost carbon copy from what we saw from GT. These are the two teams that were engaging just a few moments ago before G2 took to the skies. And maybe a few seconds difference is going to create an opening for them, or maybe it's going to be the same result. It seems like they found somewhere to play for now. Knocked will be knocked though. Bubble does go down. Skill Cakes manages to scarper away and get back into the bubble to support his teammates. And at least they've got some rocks. They've got a little bit of cover here, so a much better position being found by Esports Arena. And that's the secret of being a top team, Tom. You have to know every single nook and cranny.
Decides to toss all these barrels and start making visual butter. Astro is back off. Prowler coming at your face right there. You gotta be careful for Astro because a lot to play for today. But Astral with
Charging up my shield.
another powerful position. Look at this high ground. Back is completely safe on over.
Under fire.
Plenty of ammo and all the weapons, decent amount of resources as well. 50% into that
Rings
defensive
just a little
department
further.
comes up. You love this
45 on the.
position.
I'm fencing.
You mentioned the
Fence gets close.
number, 50%. I think that's about how many of the lobby we're going to see disappear in around 20 seconds time. Because the zone is closing and there's not a lot of room for everyone to play in the playground. Sentinels trying to find somewhere. Xenox is down to pretty much 0 HP. It's is confirmed now, as you can see in the bottom left of your screen. Xenox down here for Sentinels. Lou and Crust trying to survive. Lou trying to avoid the damage from the zone. He's doing a pretty good job, to be honest with you. However, they're going to be gate kept. The door is shut in their face. It's Roller Theory who take down Sentinels.
Nothing you can do in that situation. Everybody playing to their best ability, but there are just so many teams here. Everybody gatekeeping on over towards the edge. Fury now having to win another major fight if they can go and do so. Tech having to heal. Also needs a med kit when it's all said and done. Complexity fighting. And you're right, Mark, there are so many squads fighting here. This is typically when it happens. Zone number 4 and zone number 5, excuse me, is when half the teams do get deleted. And Furia with their second big team fight win.
Furio, it's decent KP, like you mentioned. Complexity managing to get Monsoon back on his feet, but they will have to move from this building potentially. Might just about be in, maybe, but it's going to be touch and go for them. Shining going to come themselves to make sure that he can fight again. The damage that they're taking, no one can push this building due to those caustic barrels, but losing a couple of kills doesn't hit. Try and take the root of their own building. Well, then they're not going to be able to do that right now, but look what Esports Arena are doing. Have a Complexity listed is ready. Let's see what their next move in the plan is.
Just close side and take this side.
Yeah, I'm gonna start. We're gonna rotate barrels, okay? Make them play outside. I want one more barrel on this side, Mom.
Yeah, I'm going for it. I'm gonna pick up this one. In their fucking gap.
Yeah, I'm getting that one going now. Zone's almost about to be cut off.
Recharging shields.
Okay, team shot this barrel. We have kills here. Alright, no, we can't focus on them, but we have kills here if we look on this side. Underneath. Nice.
140, look out, Michael. Look out, right here.
Nice. Do a crypto?
Yeah.
I'm killing that. I do have dribble. I have dribble.
Jimmy,
no problem. We're good. All the way back in the corner.
Finish this guy, finish this guy.
Sorry.
I have
Can you pick up that Karma?
Maybe.
Or Shiny drop him a wingman and I can drop him heavy?
I'm going for this car.
Yeah. I have extra medkits, I have 3. Oh, these guys still just outside right here?
Yes, they are.
Okay. They bubbled.
A real game of cat and mouse between Esports Arena and Complexity. Complexity survive it though, as Esports Arena left what looked like a battle that was about to happen at any point. Complexity picking up a few KP on their way through. Furia though, Tom, still up on this high ground, and they're the kings of the tower out now, looking down on every single person behind them.
Very methodical plays throughout the entire series, throughout the entire day today. Again, it's all about that checklist, that mental checklist of things that need to happen and in which sequence. Right now, Complexity realizes they need to go and make a play. So many boxes down there. If anyone wants to armor swap, they should be able to get it, but they could be empty, and it looks like they're getting coal for Christmas as Complexity just gets dropped. Scissor, Fury, and Phony locking down to underneath of that building. Meanwhile, defensive bombardments are happening all over the place, and you know why that loot probably was taken? Could be a little bit of that Loba action that we're seeing. The black market sucking up a lot of those armors.
I've got to say, if you caught that there, W, one of the players had 6 kills to their name. They are farming the lobby at the moment. Fury got a decent amount of KP. We've already followed their story quite a lot so far, and we've seen them in a lot of battles. There's another one being picked up. That's 3 now for Zera, making it 5. And oh my word, look at this position that he's got. This could be a monster game here for Furia.
Zeratrick is so nasty with the R301 3X. It's his weapon of choice, and you can see why. There goes Vayne. 5 kills, 7 assists. They are playing so sneaky and just dominating from this high ground position. It's a full 3-on-3-on-3 though, so Furia cannot get overly aggressive. You can see Tech taking his time, making sure that he's popping that ult himself so the defensive fun. So
that's why I don't do it.
Furia have a chance to put on one of the biggest kill point games I think we've seen in some time in the ALGS. They know they've got a team trapped inside the building. That's going to be Torrent. Another team below them. They're going to have to move down from this high ground in just a few seconds, though. What's the plan going to be? They're going to bubble out into that space to buy them a little bit of time. Also, they've got those pills to their right, but it looks like the team is going to try and force some angles onto them. There's an Asho up. They might have just baited these two teams into each other as they drop back into their own bubble now.
I like this play, but it did cost them a significant amount of HP. Look at the amount of HP they lost on Tech side, on Darius' side. Aculo trying to take over this guy. It's basically going to be a one-man Aculo show, and I just don't think he's going to be able to do it. I don't think that Scissors has it in the cards as well, but you never know with that. Woohoo! It was so close. Torrent is going to take it.
Torrent managed to get that bubble down last. They managed to survive the longest and pick up the final kills. I thought for a second there, we might see a little bit of a special play coming in from Valkyrie, but it wasn't the case. Rogue filling in this week and picking up dubs like he does in ranked. Rambo alongside Jarice, getting the job done for Torrent. They'll be your champions of game number 4.
That was very impressive. I mean, the way that they're able to dissect the information there and stay inside of that little corner is great experience, especially for a team that's coming in with a fill-in right there. And if you're going to have a fill-in, you might as well have Rogue, who's just an absolute beast. But wow, straight beamage from the Furious squad. Unfortunate for their fans, they were not able to walk away with a huge win. That could have been a 30-plus point game if they were able to wipe both of those squads. Either way, though, look at the amount of points soaked up by those top 3 teams. All of the kill points, all of the placement points, 100 Thieves, Esports Arena, Complexity. Yes, it's great getting 4th, 5th, 6th, but that's just clunks of points compared to what you're seeing from Torrent, W, and Furia.
Pretty great when you look at it, isn't it? Just kind of take a second to step back and see what happened there. That's nuts what W and Furia did. They pretty much wiped the majority of the lobby between them, it seems. At the other end of the table, we saw Space Station go out early. Been a bit of a quiet week for them, Tom. At the start of the the Pro League, I was giving them a lot of praise, a lot of hype, and they started off really hot. But today just hasn't been their day. Do you think it's just a case of maybe it's just one of those days where something doesn't click, or do you think that there's something notable here for Space Station that isn't quite happening?
I think they have to go to the drawing board and look at this and say what's going on here. Whenever you're playing at such a high level, it really comes down to your energy levels first. If you're not coming through and bringing your 100% in your A game, you can't dissect what actually went wrong, because then you're just playing lazy Apex. And I don't think they're playing lazy Apex, but I just think something's up, whether it's just not their day, whether it's bad rotations that are going in their favor. Yes, it's been 4 games, there's still 2 remaining, and we know that they can put up massive points in these final 2 games. But you have to do it really soon. We're running out of time here as we take a look at all the damage that was going down on the side of Rogue and the rest of his squad. And you got to give him credit, again, with coming in with a sub, coming in with a fill-in for this final moment there, and playing extremely safe. That is the number one thing. Awareness of the map, understanding that they didn't have to take that fight, and they got rewarded big time now, moving up 7.
Yeah, jumping right up the table, as you say. 100 Thieves, though, they've also jumped up the table as well. Quietly going about their business today, Tom. 39 points on the board for them. They take over G2. Spot. 37 points for them, but just how tight this is at the top. 1 point first and second, 1 point between second and third, and then 1 point between fourth. I mean, it's 1 point all the way down, basically, until you hit complacency. I'm trying to point that.
But then it's all 1 point from there.
It's ridiculous.
You could count from 39 all the way down, or from 30 all the way down to 25, 1 point separating all of those teams throughout all of that. So that is just absolutely ridiculous. We have never seen a scoreboard this close after 4 games, in my opinion.
And there's still 2 to go, which is the most exciting thing for everybody who's watching at home. And I've got to be honest with you, with the way that scoreboard's looking, I think whoever predicts the winner today is an absolute genius. And I don't know how they've done it, because it is one of the most unpredictable weeks and groups that we have seen so far. I'm going to put you on the spot now. Who's winning it, Tom? You sticking with your predictions? Sentinel's just going to go off in the last 2 games?
Man, I don't know. It's tough because I don't want to follow the crowd like everybody else. If you would have told me we were all picking Sentinels, I would have picked somebody else. I'm going with 100 Thieves. I'm going to give a shout out to my boy Amu, former teammate of mine and a close buddy. So I'm going to go and, I know I'm not supposed to be biased, but I'm going to give 100 Thieves this win.
All right, then we'll have to see if that happens when we get back after this break. 2 games to go. We'll see you in just a bit.
These wings aren't just to get around. They're a legacy.
The match is on. Let's do this, brother.
I keep my squad mates insulated.
This is your champion.
Let's land here. Forget that. You're already dead.
Let's land over there.
Kein Vize-View von Navier. Coming hot.
Evo shield here. Level 2. There's a clueless bogey out there. First blood already? If you flame out this soon, why'd you even come? Let's scope this quadrant out here. That's got my name written all over it.
Game 5 is just around the corner, but I think that's a pretty cool result we saw in Game 4. Rogue, I believe, is just standing in for the time being, but able to pick up a W in that strategy position is pretty great. Lots of bragging rights with that, at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, Torrent, I was just, looking back and checking. Torrent now has a third, a fourth, and a first place finish in our last 3 games. So we've been asking for consistency, and we're getting just that out of Torrent. And you can see that reflected, obviously, in these overall standings. They've shot themselves 7 places up the league.
Yeah, they are 1 point above G2, who have won half the games that we've seen so far. So that is consistency. That is undeniable right there. But we see well, 1 point below G2. So, and again, he's 1 point behind them. So in these last 2 games, the top 5 is going to be so interesting. And again, if somebody outside that top 5 pulls out a double in one of these 2 games, then they're going to be shooting straight up there as well. So this is a very competitive day of Apex that we're seeing here in North America, and it's really, really great.
Yeah, and when we were even just looking at the overall standings, those were already close. There were so many teams on the same amount of points or separated only by 1, especially when we were considering the bubble side of things. And apparently they decided they wanted to make this individual day just as spicy by making sure everyone today was also only separated by 1 point. And you can see exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, look at 16th, 11th, 17th, 11th, 18th, 19th, 20, all at 10. So every single point is mattering, especially for the likes of Torrent. Because look where Torrent is, okay? They're in 24. They're one of the squads that we've kept talking about that is fighting for their place into that top 20. And we just talked about how consistent they were.
For sure, that win is absolutely massive for them, trying to get into the top half of that board. That's such a key win for them and really brings a lot of opportunity at their feet. And we saw that SXG were another team who I think have got to be disappointed with what has happened so far. They're definitely going to be looking for a bigger impact in these remaining 2 games. And I wonder, I mean, I feel like some teams, maybe that would make them play things safer, maybe other teams it would make them play it more aggressively, and perhaps the ring will have something to do with that. And we'll see soon enough where it is here as we move into Game 5. It's time to drop and find the best armor you can.
Second to last match of the day. The opportunities for these teams to continue accruing points are slowly dwindling down. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen here in game number 5. Step up to the plate this time. Will it be one of the teams that we've already seen have a phenomenal performance, or will it be a new team?
I'm hoping we see some more action towards the tree. The late rings in that area, I quite enjoy them. There are weird gaps in the building over there, so if someone's playing underneath, for example, you can outside them. So that's where I would like to see it going. Well, it's going to be heading towards thermal once again. And there's a bit of tree in there.
Yeah, you got a little bit of tree. You put it out in the universe. The Apex Legends RNG gods have delivered, okay? They heard you. And this time it's not that crazy, super far western pull for thermal either. There's going to be a lot more space to play.
It's a good day for them. They've had some good results. They've got some good rings as well, and there's great potential in this 5th game as far as they are concerned. And again, Torrent have put themselves in such a promising position, starting this day at the bottom half of the table, winning the previous game. They could find themselves heading towards the deep waters of this first split if they can continue by some measures. But hey, we've got plenty more teams to rotate in and try to find some important real estate, and that could prove problematic for them later on as we now ride with Sentinels, who are on the move as well.
Sentinels, another one of those teams, I mean the team, when it comes to our predictions that we're looking for big things out of. We heard Tom and Onset talking about it, you know, did they think Sentinels would be able to have these last 2 crazy pop-off games? And I certainly wouldn't be counting them out yet. They probably want to maintain that dominant status that they've really had here for NA. So of all the squads, I would not be surprised if Sentinels somehow pops off here in the final 2 matches. I see them looking to potentially start doing something like that. They see lots of squads in the surrounding area right now.
Yeah, they instantly had a scan below them to see if anybody was down there. Of course they are, as we saw. And they've got to think about where the other teams that rotate in will be headed, as of course there are less and less places for them to go. Oh, that's rough, man. Having to give up the gold backpack for it's the level 1. That is, it's not what you want to see if you're the one giving it up. But hey, man, you got to do it. But yeah, Sentinels may be concerned with the openness of the position they're in. So we'll see if that encourages them to fight someone for maybe a superior position as we see teams continue to close in on this spot. You can see now collectively starting to move through. Reptar and Co. looking to find a safe haven somewhere as they head towards the tree. They'll be Valculting from the low ground, but where will they land?
We'll find out here in a little bit. Checking back in with SXG. SXG has quite a ways to go right now, but more than enough time to do so. So they're going to be going nice and slow with this loot, making sure that when they do make their way in, they're at least looted up well enough to take on all those potential battles. And what are you seeing?
I smell an ambush here as they
You think they saw them?
On the replicator. Well, they know that someone was replicating because they'll see that from the distance. And it did look like they were creeping when they were looking over to their left. So SXG have got some intel, but that is an opponent which is a little further away. We'll see if they go for a 3-2-1 and try and get it down on someone.
We're scattered.
unless they go for a full send behind it. But they certainly have some sinister intentions here as they have the crosshairs. We see them start to move now and out in the open. James Fearless gets absolutely spanked and the full send comes through, at least with his first kill. And he's not going to last very long indeed. And we'll see if his teammates just run for their lives. It looks like they will be, as that full send is certainly coming through.
The Bloodhound ult was popped so that they continue this chase here. They know where Davis is, but I'm pretty sure the third teammate had actually gone off in the complete opposite direction. So even if Davis does get taken out here, they might be able to at least salvage that. Third teammate could potentially go for banner grab right now. Looks like SXG decides they're going to back off this chase for now, just in case that third player did go back for the banner. Scans are coming out. They don't see anybody yet, though, so... I mean, they did get at least the 1 KP. Definitely disrupts the early game.
Yeah. Well,
for that enemy squad.
Yeah, so Senior Service are in a pickle at present. On the plus side, they are near a replicator, so perhaps they can make some medkits and so on. Although, bearing in mind they already used the replicator, they may not have the points to do so. Well, we can see Voltic running 20 in the hole, so maybe there is something that can be done if they go to recover that banner. Hasn't been done just yet, though. Davis, I feel like, is a really generic name for like a policeman in an action movie. You know, I always remember the one in one of those, that Batman trilogy where the guy's like, Davis, and just starts running away. So every time I see his name, I just think of that.
They can have it. My sights are set higher.
Maybe an alternate role for him in the future. Just be a policeman.
You know, at least you're setting up some backup plans for him, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, you know, if he ends up dying to the ring, there's something to think about while you wait for this game to end.
Yeah, it looks like Senior Service is just going to let James Banner time out, and they're just going to have to reset as a 2, going for the long rotate, erring on the side of caution here later, but back on board with Complexity, who has decided to hang around Harvester for now and see what, if any, action they can catch here on the edge of the first zone for now.
Look at that barrel spread on the radar.
Yeah.
You love to see it. Mr. Knox.
They're prepared.
Spreading the wealth, in his own eyes anyway. Some may disagree. So they're chilling for the time being. They've got a fair amount of space as we see some replicators start to land. And they've proven lethal already, as we've seen. James running to that car. I bet he was hoping that door would open, but was not to be. So he's the only man to be dropped at present. Again, if you are joining us and you haven't been here from the beginning, these games today starts with 19 squads. We've got no siege for the remainder of split 1. So we start with 19 squads. We haven't lost a team, but we have lost a player, because of course we would have 57 on the server. But James Fearless, maybe a little too fearless, absolutely smashed by a replicator. No mercy shown whatsoever. And we can see now these teams heading towards this zone. That area is getting pretty busy, and there are some significant choke points as well, which will be really interesting for the later teams to navigate.
You can see there just how many teams have already kind of set up shop, though, exactly where they want to be. We see a couple more squads playing the edge, rotating around the outside. We've got one team right there that we can see on the mini-map pushing their way through the tunnel, but right now it looks like the majority of the squads have found their way down here and are preparing for when these fights are inevitably going to start kicking off here in our next 2 circles.
We are in trouble. Hakalo and Tech have been wrecked by the likes of G2. Looks like we've got one player standing for the time being. We still have 19 squads up, but that's 2 teams who are in trouble now. But I think Furia have got the worst end of that one. Looking at that radar, I did wonder about where the next zone will be after that current green one, because I feel like we could see some awkward rotations for the teams around that tree position if it pulls further away from them. Still 19 squads up, but I don't know if Furia have been able to rescue their players of what's been happening, so have a look at where we can. But in the meantime, an area which will soon be getting somewhat more claustrophobic.
I know we keep seeing a couple individuals here and there. It looks like Sentinels knock a player from the crawl board, so there is a lot of cherry-picking individual teammates right now, which is going to definitely be beneficial crosshairs of Senox. They decide to back off for now, though. It was Astral Esports, and they're down to just one player now.
Oh!
A Nashor.
Yeah. He will join him in the afterlife, it seems. That battery was never going to arrive. Decorations in January into the cupboard, and we'll see you a bit later on. So I'm waiting to see the Furia situation as well. Of course, I saw 2 downed players, maybe fragged even earlier on. So I don't know if they're on their last man at present, if they were able to form some kind of a rescue. From Valkyrie begins towards the bridge. For a lot of it in EMEA earlier on to great effect. It has an impact in Game 5.
CLG had a team on scan there. You were asking about Furia and their current situation here, Bernov. One player, got just Sarah left here, but does have the banners. So it looks like he might be trying to go for a res here if he can get it in before the zone starts getting too crazy, and they might be able to bounce back if nobody tries to go for them after it.
Yeah, he needs to get that res in quick before that zone starts to close, otherwise he's going to be in a lot of trouble. And a team who's been in a lot of trouble in a lot of these games is CLG. They have been victimized game after game, and they will be victimized once again in game number 5, deleted in quick succession. Nox will be happy with that. Esports Arena getting some KP, and here comes the res, but they're going to have to do it in the zone, as we can see. Furia, one's close, but they may start to get thirsty if they see that drop chip coming in.
That was a really unfortunate situation. They were stuck between caustic barrels, 2 squads. I mean, definitely was not likely for them to be able to get out of there, but the 2 members of Furia are going to try to make their way in here, and it seems like they might be uncontested in doing so, but now they're going to be stuck in a really poor loot situation.
Yeah, we can see Esports Arena are pretty spread out. They're trying to hold a line together almost like some defensive soccer players. So now we see some bombardments coming through, and Esports Arena going to have to try and do what they can here. We've got domes and holding position, now putting barrels in as players try to rotate out of that bombardment perhaps. Looks pretty patient. Again, we've got that typical Valk spam. I don't want to be too concerned about that. It's all about the main frags here. We see 2 BBG players maybe getting pushed here by Esports Arena. Wicked will fall, so with his teammate down to Tempest now. We may have to try and turn around and run if he can. Esports Arena still up, so now the dome is up, and Nox will surely get this back pop. So there's more KP to come for Esports Arena, but we have a 3rd team coming to the party.
As soon as Esports Arena were able to bait the bubble, they knew that they could win this engagement, but they definitely were not planning for the push for the 3rd party from behind by SXG, who has some decent height, but does lose Golden already in the process. Esports Arena is going to be fighting tooth and nail to hold on right now in this situation.
Yeah, their Chippy going down is a big problem for them, and here comes that thirst from Esports Arena. So this is really going down to the wire. I don't know who's going to take this one. Duplex trying to stay behind the barrels here, creating some space with the caustic barrels as well. Sorry, staying behind the shields of his teammates, but SXG are looking at a much better position now. They've got more legs on deck now as the troops are coming through, and that might be the end of Esports Arena for this one.
Yeah, that 3v1 was going to be near impossible to get out from under once SXG was able to get even a minor reset there for that squad, and they're going to be rewarded with a ton of death boxes for that 3rd party, setting themselves up very nicely here moving forward. Now Senior Service has made their way over into Thermal, and they're going to see if they can hold out as a twosome here at the bottom of this building.
Yeah, still surviving. Had some early adversity, but they are in this for now. And many teams still are, as we see there are 16 squads. And this is where G2 like to be. This is their coop, if you will. This is their nest. They like to chill up in this position. But again, traditionally, they would be here with a Wraith. They would drop a portal down below, and they would go in and out. They'd go for that skirmish. They've got the full set now with Ash. Speaking of, is this going to go the way of Furia? It will. They'll get straight in there. Quick KP. And the
Furia knowing that they have to make an aggressive play here if they want to be able to catch up in the loot department. So they go for it. Their shields aren't too terrible. They're able to get another death box worth of loot there for themselves. So not in too shabby a position right now. Definitely better than what I thought they were.
It looks really good. I wouldn't want to be in a situation such as they are in right now. for Cross. How can he possibly survive this? I'm not sure if he can. Furia coming through for some frags now as well, as we are going to start to lose teams very quickly indeed.
Don't even know how Sentinels ran into Neanderthals there, but Neanderthals come out on top in a big way. Blitzen being the only player that goes down and is able to get rezzed. Now checking back in with G2, they've moved off of their high perch and are now in the fray of all of these teams down below, trying to make their way across the lava. So many throwables.
Honestly, it's like fireworks day, all these explosions. Dancing around the thermites and the little cover that they have, G2. You cannot stop moving for a second because there will be guns trained on you for sure. We can see 100 Thieves immediately below them. And Furia just to their right. It's an avalanche of humanity in this small area. And not everybody's going to survive. 9 squads remain now as that ring is going to get painfully small in 35 seconds. And look how far away they are to save.
They've got one squad in front of them to be concerned about, a couple above. So they're going to try to clear this first one out that's on the same low ground situation and then move on from there. And right now it's like shooting fish in a barrel.
Just dropping down. That's the fastest KP I can remember seeing. And now we have a new kill leader. G2, thank you and goodbye. Don't worry about that wall, it's just a bug. G2 now all red, crimson shields will be fantastic. And they've got box B. The mastiff from Jen creating space for his team, but can they capitalize on this? The wingman going absolutely nuclear, and G2 will get a 3rd game from 5. This is ridiculous.
What just happened? What just happened? How? In the midst of all that chaos, G2 not only survives the push across the lava, which we knew was already going to be dangerous because they were one of 3 squads that had to push across, but then they had to contend with everybody else that was up in that high ground area, and somehow they win after the insane push across. They clean up another squad who was very late to the party on that low ground, and then they're able to clean up everybody else above them.
This is such a ridiculous performance. 14 kills from G2 from such an awkward position with like a fantastic work from G2. 3 games from 5 so far. 14 kills no less. They're not doing it the easy way. They're getting involved. Again, that rotation, that Ash ult, everything going their way today.
Great job. Great freaking job, okay? Because
wins up.
We questioned if it was going to be more variety, if we were going to have one team just completely decimate the competition. G2 decided they wanted to be that squad today. That was an incredible end game performance, the way they handled every single push that they had to make, and a very, very well-deserved win with that amount of KP.
We're kind of speechless over here. Rain Day, what do you make?
Well, last time you guys brought me on here, you know, we were speechless, 15-2, and now the next time you guys wait 1 game, so the, you know, G2 doesn't win. Then you bring me back on another one, and it's the same thing. It's like we're on repeat here. These guys are playing so well, but it's not just that. They're playing clinically, they're playing in momentum without stall, without hesitation, guys, and that's what's kind of making it look special. So they're 2 on the day, but to win 3, I don't remember many ALGS tournaments where that's ever happened, and they still have a chance to go ahead and win 4. Talk to me a little bit about why G2 continues to do this. Is it the Ash case?
You know what, I'm so excited because I see some of their usual spots like the high ground we saw at Thermal Station. And again, I mentioned it at the time, they like to go for those skirmishes stylistically when they've got to get that portal down on the low ground, go in and out as necessary, and when they get an opportunity, seize on it. With the full send from Ash, those rotations are not easy to do. Again, if maybe somewhat a game of chicken, especially and you got Furia on the side. How they make that work, how they get over there, find safety, clear some space for each other, and find themselves in arguably the best position, I don't know. There's got to be some serious decision making there, and it's high pressure. You can't make a mistake in situations like that. They have delivered time and time again, so you have to just hold your hands up for what they're doing with this match.
And what's even crazier too is that while they're doing it, they look so composed. It doesn't feel panicky. It feels cohesive. They move it, in their favor every single time. I mean, if they almost had 3 back-to-back wins, that's what's even crazier for me.
You know, the act is something that we have debated on throughout this intro of a new character, a new legend in a season. This always comes to play. Seasons to be mainly adopted. And even in the playoffs, when Valkyrie was used quite well, there were many teams, there were still teams who weren't quite saying that she was going to be it. Now we know she's a staple of it, but it really feels like G2 have hedged their bets. They've said, I am going to, as a unit, we're as a unit going to commit to this Ashe, going to commit to the all-in playstyle. It suits us well. We know we can out-aim people as long as we get... I remember you guys calling it out, having to traverse over the lava. Well, that's a lot easier if you can phase breach over it and get yourself just onto the low ground to start that final fight without having to take all that poke around all of it. And it has resulted in nearly a 20-point lead at the top.
Wings up.
Match 5 here, verse 5 to get to 43 points. In striking distance of second. And Torrent, actually, strong performance on the day. Just under 2 points. And right above Esports Arena and below that. But I don't know, guys, if there's any catch in G2 at this point.
I think they're also setting a great example. Again, there are arguments to be made about teams hesitating when they have an opportunity to take a fight against KT. And I feel like Ashe is like this extra level of aggression where there may be less hesitation in those situations. Oh man, we could have just played even more aggressively this whole time. Then we can have a much better performance in the future. And maybe there's some inspiration to be had in the way that G2 are playing with this Ashe for some other teams to take example of where they're thinking, oh, not sure I want to take this fight, but they're just like G2, just like they're on the side of the motorway and G2 will be the ones getting those points. So maybe it's food for thought for the other teams who are being made.
You know, we obviously have so much that we've gone through. We've talked G2 endlessly. Whether you're watching G2 or it just makes your favorite team is to be able to do it on a brand new laptop. That's right, because we've got Lenovo giveaway going on. What you need to do is make sure that you check out the ALGS Pro League giveaway for winning free Lenovo Legion gaming PC, and you can follow Lenovo Legion on twitter.com. Also, if you want to check out what we're doing and keep up with our hashtags, hashtag ALGS, talent every single game day. You can follow us on Play Apex Esports on Twitter, on YouTube, and Play Apex here on Twitch. So much happening. Too much happening. Honestly, that's kind of how I feel. I want to get to you. You're not going to be able to call Game 6, but you get to watch it. To pull out the unthinkable and get 4 wins on the day, or will somebody else kind of put an end to this?
I think somebody has to put it out there. There's no way that with the performances from some of those other teams that we've had so far today that they will allow that 4th dub to come through. So mark my words, I think someone's going to try to shut down G2.
Well, it's good odds. You know, 19 out of 20 have a chance to help you win that one.
Visual clear, good tone.
Welcome back, everybody, once more, and for one more time, we'll be going into game. It is, of course, the Apex Legends Global Series Pro League North American show. T2 and Onset going to take you through that game, and it's been G2, G2, G2. Now, I still haven't put the maths together, Tom, but I'm pretty sure if they don't win this game, it will be 50%. But with the way that they're playing at the moment, it well could be another G2 victory.
Yeah, is this the LGS or is it the G2 show? I'm really not sure what we're watching right here because they are bullying all of these teams. Just like we talked about after game number 2, they didn't come here just to win 1 game. Apparently they didn't come here just to win 2, maybe even just 3. They are going for the record, and you know who holds that record, I'm pretty sure, is G2. They're trying to break their own record. They have the most wins out of 6 games out of any teams, which is 3, I believe. They're tied for the record, I believe. So they could break their own record here today.
It's going to be very interesting to watch them play because you mentioned it right at the start after that first win. You were like, such a momentum team. They win 1, all of a sudden these guys get pumped. The adrenaline starts flowing through the veins and they just get better and better and stronger and stronger. And that really has been the case. Last time that we were on the commentary desk together, giving themselves a little bit of a separation at the top, Tom. They have that 63 points in the bank. The rest of the pack, though, still incredibly close with only a couple of points separating each place.
Exactly. You look at what happens underneath there, and it's anybody's game going from 2nd place all the way down to 9th or 10th place. And that's a huge difference in scores in terms of what you're going to actually get here, because the points that you get is very similar to the points that you get for placement points in the actual game. So if you place 1st place overall, you get 12 points. If you get 2nd place, you get 9, and so on and so forth going through the rest. So it's very complicated in terms of what happens in this final game and what happens with the map after this. Fortunately, Onset, you're not in charge of the map for the LGS.
I don't think it's unfortunate, Tom. I think it's probably the best decision that's ever been made by anyone. Otherwise, we'd have 86 teams in every single lobby and nobody would ever win. But G2, that is the story that we should be following because, as you say, on track here to get 4 wins in 1 day. Long way to go, of course. Not as easy as just riding the wave, so to speak, guaranteeing yourself a victory. But the zone is certainly going to be important to them. They have had a couple of zones which have helped them, but also a couple which they've done extremely well on. Now, this isn't a bad one for them, Tom. It's on their side of the map, on the western side, heading up towards Lava Fissure and Trials, but with the way that G2 will be moving, there's only going to be a couple of teams ahead of them before they actually get to that zone.
If we see an outside Trials ending, this is going to be absolute madness. I haven't seen outside Trials ending in tournaments since we were in the Watson meta. And that just gets absolutely crazy in terms of the fences that could get put out in there. Now we're going to see caustic barrels all over the place. Getting the high ground above Trials is so big. Whatever team's going to be able to lock that down, most likely the team that lands over towards Trials is going to have a huge advantage. But we don't know if it's going to 100% pull over there. If I was captaining my team right now, I would put them in that type of position because Trials is very unforgiving.
G2 is going to be thinking about maybe leaving a little bit earlier than they would have previously, knowing that they have access to that zone, the ability to maybe put that 4th win on the board. Now, we talked about this shot earlier, Tom. It's so difficult to hit, and I was about to say it's the most pressurized shot in all of Apex Legends. Forget a 1v1 at the end of the game for X amount of money. Hitting that thing when it turns gold is, in my opinion, the most difficult shot.
Oh, there's no aim assist on that one, Gentrifying. Maybe should some out to the keyboard.
He went there. He called him out on it.
Someone had to say it. Oh, just kidding, just kidding. Don't burn me, don't burn me. The G2 fans, I'm sorry I had to, but you know what? It's something that happens to me all the time. I miss that thing, and I'm one that griefs it on purple 99% of the time as well. But W, they are in a prime position as well. They're a team that drops over towards Lava Fissure. That's going to be their POI. Meanwhile, a bubble scene going down, interesting enough, and I'm surprised that they're going to allow that to happen. Possibly going to pressure, but when you see the team rotating over towards Trials, you have to they have information that you may or may not have, and that's what we talked about, getting on over there as fast as teams on the high ground are going to bully so many different players and teams throughout all of that. Expect at least 2 players in the Trials area to walk away with sniper rifles so they can have a good amount of custodian potential up on top.
Wings up.
Fury have already moved into a pretty good spot here. They dropped over a Trials themselves and made this little scarp around the corner, so to speak, to play this area. They've got the kind of the station next to them on the right as well, so they'll be using it as a base of operations, so to speak. You saw SSG as well. They'll be controlling the tower at back Trials. So it looks like a lot of teams are agreeing with you early on top of that pull towards Trial. We see Complexity also on their way through Skyhook there, just in the background. Torrent, who have managed to take home a game today as well, and put a pretty decent amount of points on the board so far. They've been playing the choke just outside of Trials, trying to gatekeep all those teams in. And this is one of those positions, if you can hold it down, Tom, the majority of this game, with everybody having to move from east to west, then you can pick up a huge amount of KP and try and make that rotation. But Complexity are already looking a little bit hungry here, and they see the stack as well.
They're a little bit split. You can see not everyone. Complexity had the right idea. Everyone should have charged in and pressured that while they had the damage coming in from behind. Now they're going to be stuck and sandwiched inside of this tunnel, which is not ideal. Fortunately, they do have caustic, so they're going to have a little bit of barrel presence. But tough break there, where they looked like they were going to go and push that one. Reptar got a little bit split. He takes a decent amount of damage, and now things get a little bit more complicated. This is the spot, though, that Neanderthals wants to go and hold. That side of the Trials is where it's going to pull.
It's a little bit of carnage going down on top of Trials. The area that you said is a priority position. A lot of people feel the same.
Come on, it's Complexity going to go full send for a potential third party. That would be insane. They're gathering information. They're absolute psychos. I think that's what they hear. Like,
oh dear, this could go so well, it could go so badly. Reptar's going to take damage though, and Complexity, I'm not sure they were aware there was more than one team up here. Monsoon managed to break two though, and Monsoon is doing what Monsoon does, turning the tide for his team. Reptar down, Shiny healthy, but Monsoon just holding everybody back.
Multiple boxes, possible armor swaps coming in. Shiny grabs a purple, but it's empty. He's looking for more armor swaps. Can he find it? Has a battery in hand. There's multiple knocks coming in on both sides. And another defensive compartment is going to be tossed out, and that one by Shiny just to buy a little bit more time to try to get Reptar. 5 seconds on that bubble. Looks like he's going to go and hit that one while the defensive compartment's going down. Risky to do it out without the bubble, and there's no push coming in. So Complexity play ends up working out. Absolute psychotic team effort right there just to survive another run.
Survive they do indeed, and again it just shows how zones and how they're played. That would have been possible previously. Look at Monsoon now. He said, "You knocked my boy over a few moments ago. I haven't forgotten about that. Here's some R99 bullets to give you a little reminder of who you're up against here." You're gonna have to barrel up for now to just give them a little base of operations to work from, but in the meantime, even with the damage done by Monsoon, his teammate did take some damage himself, so it's back to that standoff as we do see that third circle, the beacon being hit, and we are heading to where you thought.
If this was just two teams left and they were fighting it out on this high ground, which the zone doesn't end up here, to say hypothetically, Complexity would be taking it to the other team right now. But you can see what they're worried about. They're worried about the third party coming down from below. They're worried about a team doing a play which happened with them. And Bad Boys is lucky at this point, because if they were to face Complexity in that 3-on-3, the way that Monsoon is shooting right now, I don't know if they would stand a chance. In order to pull something off, it's going to have to be a big triple take shot to cancel promos. Something around the 70-80 damage, and then pushing in with that flat line would be more than enough. But at the same time, you do not want to grief this spot. Both of these teams understand how important this high ground is going to be for the late game.
R301 here.
Eagle Sculpture looks down upon these two teams. Monsoon says, "I want to try and finish this off," and I'm understanding this aggression being shown by Complexity as well. You do not want to coexist on this high ground if you can avoid it. Monsoon going to have to retreat though. Euban going to be popping a couple of cells just to make sure he's healthy. Forcewat only needs a couple of shots with this R301. 75 damage until he'll be leveling up those Evo shields as well. As SSG, we pop in with them once more, and their back will be clear by the looks of things, although there might be a little bit of a late rotation actually, as we can see on the player outline, so SSG got to be careful.
SSG doing the right thing though, and this is the priority spot in terms of blocking down their back. They have to continue to watch that, because if it does pull out towards Trials, it's going to end more or less in between that sniper post and the entrance of the door, or right outside the door, depending on which zone it's going to actually be. But G2, they're sitting pretty over towards the Slava Pitcher side. They know that they can't get on over towards Trials. They're trying to make these teams apart and then make the rotation, because they understand they have to clear their back out if they want to go and continue to move forward. 100 Thieves, one of the teams that, you asked me if I had a second pick, I should have said G2. I don't know what I was thinking. Definitely a biased pick coming through, but I just love the way that they put up a huge kill performance, the way that Vayne had such a dominating team. Kraber taking over towards that high ground. Problem is, they have to finish off the fights. They weren't able to do that. They weren't able to so 3 wins in 5 games if you're just joining us for the G2 squad. We're trying to make it more of
Still up here and still not being able to get the damage they want. A little bit of flash damage being done though, and Monsoon's going to have a little bit of over this Apex to see if he can line up a couple more R99 shots. But now we're going to be thinking about things like ammo, and even though there are some death boxes on the floor, they've already been ravaged by both of those teams. Not going to be too much to talk about for them, but himself, the Monsoon's got 23 in his backpack, which is probably feeling pretty heavy. If anyone can put the weight on his back, it's going to be Monsoon. Torrent's still down on that low ground as well. They haven't moved from that position. The difficulty now, Tom, is all those teams rotating from the Skyhook side. How do they force their way past that huge mountain? Is it going to be the Valkyrie that's going to be impactful on this lobby again?
I think G2 is going to be looking pretty strong here. I'm wondering if there's ever going to be a time where you could trade some cells for some ammo, right, inside the replicator. But I feel like you'd get like GameStop prices, and you wouldn't really get the full amount for your cells. So those 23 cells going to have to be used for healing, unfortunately. OXG though, I've been saying one day, they're going up against CLG. We'll find out who's going to go win this fight. OXG really inside that top 20. Protect Bolt looks like he's going to go and finish off the team. Ambino gets knocked, but the res comes through, and that is the power of the Caustic in this game. You're feeling so safe in this
CLG crashing harder than Bitcoin over the last few days as they fall into the lobby once more. Inside, we still see these fights going on, and this is the difference in how this zone will play now with Valkyrie. It's the first time I think I've seen this zone, like you said, in some time, and certainly the first time I've seen it we've had that kind of solid Valkyrie method where teams can actually make their way over this range and place it to a huge amount of damage, and damage turns into knocks. 2 times the triple take is good enough for Reptar. Can they get that finish on the down to secure the KP? You can see that everybody's swarming in to try and get these KP themselves, and my word, I'm not sure what's going on over there, but one thing I can tell you is there's a lot of explosions.
They did get the flush, and you can see where the zone is going to pull over here, so it will continue to go over towards that trial side. Will it be the exact trial ending we were speaking about? I don't necessarily think so. This could be a new zone that I haven't really seen before, or we could get surprised and see it bounce directly what we were talking about. But what triple take shots. They were able to get the flush there, and then I believe it was Furia and Tech with the defensive bombardment that was able to clean up the rest of the 2 kills behind that rock. So really nice job from Furia, as it looks like they are still busy over here.
Esports Arena inside. Tech is going to use that rampage to blast through the door. That thing is revved up and ready to go as well, so it's going to have huge DPS, and that's going to mean huge implications for Esports Arena, who are still inside of this building. Akula going to take a few seconds just to pop that syringe to get himself back up to full HP for the fight. No bolt, unfortunately, on that shotgun, but Esports Arena looking a little bit weak here. Only 2 players alive as knocked it through here to try and secure these KP. Tech taken down to 1 HP himself though, and Esports Arena, you have to say, doing a pretty good job here of holding off the push.
They really are, especially in a 2-on-3, but great angle coming in from Zeratricky, kind of baiting his teammates right there, but baiting them in a smart way, where he's not letting them go down, not letting them take damage, and he's going to come through and hit those massive PK shots coming in from behind. So there goes Esports Arena out a little bit early, going in 16th place there. And you can see why Team Fury has been having themselves a day. Patience, great shots, Zeratricky with the tracking, Tech with the play calling, putting themselves in the right position over and over again. Meanwhile, G2 looking like they're interested in hitting a big scan here and maybe finding out where zone number 5 is going to go, which would be really crazy information if they can find it.
Let's see what the plan is now for G2. The comms are ready. Let's jump into a listening.
We're getting the cut back on there. 60 on that Caustic. You get that?
Yeah. I think we're gonna have to sit here last second and like Astro to this high glitch, because this team has to move in on that the like half circle team too.
Finger right.
Yeah.
Meet me here.
We have to pressure the fuck out of this.
Focus right teams, yeah.
Breaking doors.
Maybe 35 flush.
I think it's ascendable. Actually. Like, I don't know if anyone would throw it. So it's team on the right are fighting, but I think
Have
it's
a
too late
caustic
now.
in here?
Yeah, they do actually. Trying to caustic guard our spot probably. They're definitely gonna play this side. When I say Valk ult out.
We can, yeah, we just buy time.
Yeah, worst case we Valk ult for time, and then third.
Yo, we could also land above them, no? Can we do that with the ult? I shoot down them? I don't know if there's enough cover. I don't think there is.
But I think we need extra damage. I think we just run in, aren't
Is there still a team in here?
Yes.
Yes. They have to run into that team. That's what I'm saying.
No, they don't. No, they don't. They're gonna play this rock.
Oh shit.
We're probably gonna have to. We're probably gonna have to Valk. Probably have to Valk up to here. We're probably have to play really late to here, bubble here, and then Valk ult over the rock.
And wait. We could also land over here. Everyone's coming in. It's just fucking.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Is we're gonna walk really slow to here, and then we're gonna Valk ult. We're gonna Valk ult from behind this rock. We're gonna Valk ult from behind this rock and land over there.
Right then.
Yeah, we had to hard focus them and then Valk ult from this rock.
They're still in there.
You think that'll be enough cover, or do I need a bub?
No, you're gonna have to save bub. We're gonna have to try to save bub.
Fascinating to hear the plan coming together for G2. There's a team who are going to be Valk ulting out ahead of them, but you saw how decisions were being made there, Tom. It was kind of like, this is plan A, and then a reflection on it, and then plan B, and then it seems like the final plan is to actually Valk ult into the choke behind everyone else and see if they can take advantage of it.
Again, it's that checklist that we're talking about, and it's so important to go through that and bring up all these different options that you have, get input from everybody, and while all of that's happening, other things are happening on the map too, because it's such a fast-paced game and we have so many squads in such a tight amount of area that you have to continually change what you're doing. So there's the Valk out, multiple teams thinking the same exact thing. As soon as they drop their bubble, except full sends in behind them. Nobody from G2 was expecting that. I don't think anybody in the entire Twitch chat or YouTube chat, wherever you're watching, was expecting that push from Xset, but wow, was that impressive. However, they get pushed right back. It's going to be Torrent and Onset. How many teams just died here? It's a graveyard of boxes.
Well, here goes Monsoon. Reptile's taken down for Complexity. Monsoon will be joining him in the dirt, as Shiny is now the last player alive, but he's going to have to fall down as well. Question is he going to find somewhere to blaze? And he's got around a second or so until he hits the ground. He survives on the skin of his teeth, while the hands on his chin, but this isn't going to be safe either. Complexity are eliminated. We're down to 6, and how quickly everything has changed. Death from above, death in the choke. It doesn't matter because we are down to our final 6.
And the team that's sitting high ground, like we talked about, is just sitting pretty the entire time. Furia, they're playing this backhand side, but it's a brutal zone. Trials is just so tough to deal with. No buildings, one area with high ground where teams just continue to punish you. The only safe haven that you have is that little tunnel that you saw teams poking out of, and now Space Station is stuck on over there too. They played that Spirit Tower over towards that left-hand side. It worked out for them phenomenally. They're able to keep their back clear. All the action in front of them was extremely key. But now look at this. It's so hard to predict based on where you see all of these teams located on how this one's going to go. OXG, they don't have that far of a trek. The rest of the teams will have a far way to push. But again, the last bubble down, on bubbles go down, nades get thrown all over the place. Whoever plays the best and the most patient is going to win here.
Team force down from low ground. SSG are going to try and light them up. The bubble was there, but Citizen's got to make a difficult cross to that bubble to survive. Drop managed to pick up one, and French will pick up another one as well. So TSS down to just one, but the bubble might save them for now, although it looks like in the kill feed they have been eliminated now. We're down to 4 as Fury now make their move. Big hit with the PK. They're tricky trying to connect with this Gibraltar. Can't quite do so. That will be OXG coming out top of that battle as well. They'll have to get those records up. And we have Torrent, SSG moving in on each other as well. Space Station, beautiful shots coming out of Drops with that flat line. He'll take down Eureka. Looks like they are going to be potentially winning this battle, but no, Fresh will go down as well. The bubble comes in once more. The caustic gas just holding off both these teams as they just stare into the white of each other's eyes until, of course, they will make things up SSG. And OXG will be able to get rid of their team.
But the problem is they didn't hit the flesh meds, so they are fairly weak. SSG doesn't realize that. All they're seeing is massive armors coming in from behind, and now we have a one-on-one. Protectful looking for an armor swap. Looks like he can't find it. He has one more massive shot to hit. Can he do it? It looked like a trade. Are you kidding me? Well, that was desync if I've ever seen it. Protectful, that looks good to me.
Space Station awarded with the victory at the end. They controlled that northern side of Trials for so long, and they will close out the final game of today in the North American ALGS Pro League with a victory. It was about as intense as a moment as you can get. It's the first time we've seen a real full-on 1v1 to win a game, Tom. The perfect way to close things out today.
And it was so close right there, too. They could have both dropped, and we could have ever had our first tie in Apex history. That's how close that one was. But just great job from both teams there. Space Station, again, playing that flawlessly up until the very end. OXG dealing with some really tough cards and some really tough fights that didn't go their way. However, they were able to push back and get second place overall, 16 points for them. Big story, though, is SSG bouncing back. They had such a slow day. The first 5 games, very lackadaisical, very underwhelming for Space Station Gaming fans. They ended on a really high note, and they have to feel good about that performance.
24 points for them. OXG, like you mentioned, it was about as close as you can get to being a first place for them as well. 16 points on the board for them. Torrent, a good game, always doing everything right as well, is my boy. It is Rain Day, who's going to be joining us once again. Space Station clutching up in the final moment. There's that smile that makes everyone say, welcome back, mate. What a day it's been.
Hey. It's been a great day, and honestly, it was kind of a twist. You know, when XZ was able to push G2, I think a lot of people in the audience kind of let out a little bit of exultation, saying, well, no, we can't get the 4 out of 6. But overall, the job was done. I think the rest of the lobby knew it, and that's where maybe gave SSG a little bit of rhythm, a little bit of freedom to explore, because up until then, it was nothing but G2's game to lose. OXG had one of these guys that I feel like put together some really solid performance today.
I think that fight right there was so big for them. Hambino coming through and hitting the res and getting back up, but Protectful mainly with these barrels. And again, winning it without getting multiple knocks on your team allows you to go a little bit further. We saw everybody really starting to heat up. I mean, the way that the shots were coming through, I don't want to call it hockeys or anything, but it looked like NA was shooting a little bit better than the EU teams and the India teams. I'm just throwing that out there.
I like it how Tom's left it until all of the Europeans will be asleep. To have it all over the enemy, but don't worry, I'm here and I'll be relaying that message. But you are right, some of the shots that will be hitting these final moments, Tom, were absolutely crazy. And this is the 1v1 at the end of it. This is the point of view of Zanayo in this 1v. It was so close, and oh, it couldn't have been closer. It could not have been closer. Maybe it was Mastiff versus Peacekeeper there made the difference with the big hit coming in from the PK. But as I said previously when we wrapped things up, you can't have a better way to end the day than a 1v1 for a victory.
No, and that was, I think, what today really showed me, is that North America seems to be stepping their game up on a whole nother level across the board. Yes, G2, yes, Sentinels, yes, 100 Thieves, who had a performance. We called them to step up to the plate. They did so and more. But overall, it feels like North America is a lot sharper today. Maybe something we're used to seeing in Europe across the teams. NA really proving that these top 7, these top 8, it's anybody's game. XZ getting themselves games. But OXG, with that performance, jumps 1, Torrent jumped 2, and they get right behind G2 in the 2nd, 3rd place. That's a massive result for OXG and Torrent, especially Torrent with Rambo and Rogue subbing in. I mean, that's everything you need, Tom, obviously, when you're adding new players into a roster.
It's a tough pill to swallow for yourself in 8th place squads there, 100 Thieves in Esports Arena, where they're for quite some time. It looks like they were going to be the 2 teams trying to push G2 back. Something happens all of a sudden where you see G2 take off and you realize, man, we got to win this game. And then it puts that extra amount of pressure on you. Unfortunately, that pressure did not go their way, and they lost some valuable points there. We were talking about how close that race was from 2nd all the way down to 9th. Well, now you see the way that this leaderboard shaped up. A lot of different shuffling happening.
Now we've got the seasonal standings coming up. And Mark, I want to get your thoughts on this. G2, obviously they're in 4th place now, coming in first in this lobby. That'll earn them another 12 points. But you can imagine, take that off. They were sitting around 20, kind of hovering in that 9, 10, 8, 7 spot. And this is a team that we know has so much potential all the time. They could win any lobby, but they don't always do so. Something was different today.
Oh, something was different, and Tom summed it up. It's the one word we always talk about with G2, right? Momentum. Momentum. They win that game, and they do it in some style, and then they look unstoppable. And I want to give a little shout out as well down at the bottom there. 20th place Furia. Some questions asked, rightly so, I have to say, about how they've been performing recently. But now, with today's performance, they get into that top 20. If we were to end the competition right now and head towards playoffs, they would be in that final lobby. On the other side of things, you know, you're looking at some of these teams down the bottom, and you know, it's going to be a very worrying, scary, nervous last day for them, because that top 20, some of those teams are still outside of it. SXG falling outside is somewhat of a surprise to me, because they've been one of the surprise packages that we've had so far this season, and I can see them putting up a big performance in the final day to force their way.
Well, let's go. Yeah, started out. Well, 6 competitors we've seen throughout all the LCS. So in that 23rd spot, they're definitely going to be vying for a little bit of a better performance. Not worried about relegation. That is for sure. And that is what's coming up. We've got a lot on the line, but of course there's so much more coming in today's broadcast, because we kind of have to start giving out our accolades. That's what makes where we are so special today. There are always a couple of people who stand out. We save this segment at the end of the day. Highlight. Yes, of course. All right, well, there's always some standouts in today's play, and we know the team that stood out, but let's break it down to the players. Mark, for our Monster Energy MVP, who caught your eye?
Gentrifying from G2, I thought that he was gentrifying today. The man was not missing too many bullets, and the way that he was making decisions in endgames was something that was really impressing me. Not just hitting shots, but taking some really, really smart angles. And one thing I love about the way that G2 played as well was their ability to use Ashe Ultimate in the late game to reposition so quickly. The difference between Wraith Portal and the Ashe Portal is that you can't see it coming if you're another team. It's almost instantaneous. You can't turn your head, you can't swivel your attention away. And if you can find a position behind a team, then this is when you put this man in a position to start doing what he does best. I mean, look at this POV towards the end of the game right now. It looks like he's playing a trader, make every single decision absolutely perfectly, and he was kind of the catalyst for a lot of good things that happened for G2 today. I will say, alongside him, his two teammates played extremely well to put him in some really good positions, but I love watching the controller players on the Valkyrie as well, because I think it gives them that extra element of movement maybe they were missing before. It's just something you're limited to, right, when you're on the sticks instead of the mouse and keyboard, so it's kind of fun to watch, very influential. Plus, the guy's wingman is nuts. I love watching him.
And we don't have to give Valkyrie ultimates enough love when they're successful. We obviously call them out when they aren't. It's very obvious. But to have those moments happen very few and far between, that shows that Gent not only playing well, but playing out. Tom, obviously you were watching. You have some highlight.
Yeah, after game 5, I was still thinking 100 Thieves was coming back, so I was really hoping Bane was going to have a pop-off game, because when you look at the way that he was performing when he had that Kraber early on in the series, Bane was putting in serious work, and they had such a high kill performance at a certain time. You can see he takes down Lou right there. He's just going for gold, basically. This guy is swinging for the fences. He was not playing around in this game. Unfortunately for 100 Thieves, they weren't able to finish this game off, and if that was the case, if it was they would be sitting pretty in a potential playoff spot here. Tomorrow, they're going to be biting their nails and sitting on the edge of the seat, wondering if they're going to make it. So you have to be a little bit worried if you're 100 Thieves, but you still got to give a lot of credit for how they played, because we started to see that team that won the championship, and you're starting to come back to that form. When they do that, they're going to need someone like Bane, who's going to be popping off as their main slayer. I thought he brought that to them.
Well, we have maybe the most dominant team in these playoffs so far, showing up today in G2 with the performance that we will remember for a while. And we have winners of the final playoffs that has gotten them one of the biggest scores in the signing on in 100 Thieves and Gentrifying and Bane. Those would be your monsters.
Charging on my shield. They make without one. Charging my shields.
Well, boy, it's been a heck of a day. We've seen so many different things across EMEA and North America. But I want to shift the conversation a little bit more casual, but I think we're going to have to talk to so many players. We're going to have a chance to talk to some players in a moment. But how has the Ashe had an impact? I know we witnessed Valkyrie have this impact less amount of time last year's playoffs or this summer's playoffs. And it was kind of not coming down. Eventually everyone said, I should play here, because what I'm looking at, different rate, but it seems like if you use it well, it could be more effective. Tom?
I think so. I think that people just have a little bit of a learning curve, and that's what you're seeing right now. Give it some time, give it some integration, let the players digest on how to go and make these plays, give them a little bit more experience under their belt with Ash individually and with the team, and I think we're going to see the rise of Ash for sure.
Yeah, I'll jump off the back of that, Rain. I think that Ash's abilities are actually very underutilized at the moment in the competitive scene because, unlike Wraith, you have that instant ability, like I talked about with G2, to move from point A to point B. And in an end game, that can be absolutely massive. Even moving 10 feet behind two teams that are fighting could win you the game. Also, the tether is something that isn't talked about a lot. With the tether, you get to delay team for the extra half a second to stop them moving out from behind cover, to keep them taking a little bit of zone tick damage. That's the difference in games, but it's also difficult to say because you're always replacing something, right? You're always saying, this is what she can do, but then you lose something that another legend can give you. So it's always that trade-off, but I think Ash is certainly going to be something we're going to be seeing some more of.
Well, it's interesting. The team that has put a master class together when it comes to a performance today is also maybe teaching a master class on how to utilize the latest legend and her phase breach. You know who I'm talking about. It's G2 Esports. We've got none other than James Bardoff standing by with Gentrifying. Let's go ahead and hear him.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Not Gent. Not Gent. It's me. It's Design.
Welcome. welcome.
Hello.
Before we get into the new characters and such, I just want to ask you, you guys have been together since at least January 2020. So how did you guys come about as a team, and what gives you the longevity to not have an unstable roster to this day?
Wanna fly? This outfit could use some high-caliber accessories.
The year before Pro League was even announced, we were playing this tournament, and I talked to Jen and the boys, and I was like, you know what? I was like, we can really make this Valk thing work out. I think if we add in Ash as well, like it's super good for the way that we play and looking for teams on edge because we can see the death boxes around the map. And then also the only time we've ever been dying is when we don't have a Valk on. So we just decided to we only had 2 games of practice in town. It was a tournament this week. We had just played it for 2 games and decided to bust it out today. And I was telling everyone we were cooking up something special. And it's great to see what we provided, you know?
Looking at your results so far this split, you've had, before today, you had 1 win, you had 1 second place and 4 places, and then you came today and collected almost all the medals. So it's a great result.
See where they're dying at, and we'll know exactly where each team is going to be like rotating in at, and we could catch them, get a couple extra KP on the way in, you know. So it's super nice, her passive, for the way that we play on edge, at least.
So last question from me. There was one game where I think there were 2 teams on top of each other, and I think we had Furia to the side. And I think in part it was a game of chicken with the portals to make it over to the other side. You guys went for the portal. You were on the low ground. You had some absolutely nutty wingman play. But just talk me through that situation because it looked pretty scary for all the teams concerned.
Are you talking about in thermal on the jungle gym? Yeah. So what our plan the whole time was to stay on the top of thermal till the very last second. We didn't really want there's a people at the bottom of the zip lines to go up to station, and we didn't want to focus them. We wanted them to walk up on the team underneath, so then they would fight each other. So we'd be able to just instant Ash ult to there and be able to hold it. We had to stay at the top of thermal till the very last second and make sure any team that, because there was 1 or 2 teams that landed up there, but all you have to do is just keep forcing them and hammering them down, and then be the last team to get up there, which is pretty much the only spot that's going to be able to do that is top thermal. So we ended up deciding a lot of our plays in thermal zones end up being from top thermal, and Ash makes it so much easier than like Wraith or anybody else. It's just an instant, like a quick portal.
Well, congratulations on your results today. A lot of us were looking for some huge W's for you, and you took them all in the same day, which is great fun to watch.
It's safe to say we're back. We are back, baby. We adapted. We've adapted. You know, it took us a little bit, some soul searching, you know, some testing, but it's safe to say old G2 is back.
Well, it's great to see, and hopefully some other teams will watch this lesson and try to adapt as well. We'll see if they're able to do that. But thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Gentrifying. We appreciate. I'm just playing with you. Design, great moments with James, and you know we had ourselves a laugh. You know, great energy, great obviously insight into the game. I love that interview, and Tom, I want to know, starting with you, what stood out to you? He talked about a lot of pieces of his team, their adaptability, and also the Ashe being implemented with the Valkyrie.
I think it's just exciting, and it goes to show that no matter how knowledgeable or strong the pro players may be, they still have a lot to learn, right? And they're going through soul searching, legend searching how to play this game, et cetera, et cetera. And now the excitement is back for them, and that means that they're going to grind harder, work harder, and start improving even more. And if that's the case, they already know how to shoot. They already have great teamwork. They already have cohesiveness and unity because they've been the longest-lasting team in North America. What else do they need? They need to constantly be updated and stay up to date with the meta, and I think that's what they're doing right now. So hats off to them, and it's exciting to see them be happy about playing with their composition and not really feeling like they've fallen behind, because that's what seemed to be the case over the last couple of weeks, if not months.
Yeah, I just want to jump on the back of that quickly, because the one thing that stood out for me, we had some really good technical stuff. He just looked relieved, because I think there was a lot of pressure on those guys' shoulder, and I think they put pressure on themselves, and to finally perform, I think you could just see it. It was just relaxed, just relief that they've actually back to what they were doing best. So congratulations to him. It was a great day for G2.
G2 are back, but are the casters' predictions back? They may need to go away. I don't know if we want to see this screen, guys. We were way off.
We all won.
We all won and lost at the same time. It's kind of nice that we did it together. That's teamwork, right?
Hey,
that is
If
teamwork.
the ship's gonna sink, we're all going down together. All right.
That's right. My Titanic brothers, exactly. So, we've got a huge event coming up tomorrow. Obviously, we've got a big day. It's our final day of playoffs, and you do not want to miss it. It is going to, not playoffs, it's going to get us to playoffs. It's going to round out what we've been doing all the way since October after championships, and it's going to really help to define these storylines, who is going to make it into that top 20 with our new adjustments, obviously moving playoffs to an online format. It's going to be very exciting stuff as well. And if you guys want to keep up with all the action and all of the things that we've got going on in Apex Legends Esports, use hashtag ALGS, tweet at us, and follow us at Play Apex Esports. Make sure to follow us at Play Apex Esports on YouTube, and of course, Play Apex on Twitch. Oh boy. It's a fun one, guys. For us, me in North America and the West Coast, it's Saturday night. East Coast, it's getting a little later. And for Mark, I don't even know what time it is, man. He might as well have stayed up 2-3 days. He doesn't know either. So for all of you who've been watching us across the globe at all the time ranges and all the casters, crew behind the scenes and in front of the scenes, and of course the fans, thank you for hanging with us for yet another great day of ALGS Esports. We're back tomorrow, day 12. We're gonna find out who makes those playoffs. I'm gonna be casting. I'm off this hosting thing. Kate's coming back. I'm hanging out with Tom. We got Gaskin in the house as well. We got a whole slew of action from that. Do not miss it.
This is going to be fun.
Introducing Gambia.
Here we go. It's a long drop. Fun.
I'm going that way.
Round 1. Beginning ring countdown.
Nice. We're already inside the next ring.
Using grapple. light. Don't worry, I'm here.
Bogey here.
I'm holding fire, friends. We just eliminated the whole squad. Exciting.
Got you
Lucky, I like it.
All right, drinks are on them. Should have punched out when you had the chance. Charging up my shields.
Charging up my shields.
Just a sec. Healing up.
Giving my shields a recharge. Getting kept back. Taking fire. Charging on my shields. Hey, mira, Cozumel is right here. Here I go. Keep eyes on the new kill leader. Fire. Reloading. More friends are coming to kill us. There's another squad.
Gatekeep this team, that's gonna be Pierre the Rat.
And wonder, what are they talking about?
Enemies right here.
Is crack? Crack or flash is something you'll often hear when a player
I can't.
place that's difficult to assault. Ratting can even sometimes result in a surprising solo win. While this barely scratches the surface of all the Insider Language players and casters
I'm Jumpmaster. Follow me or stay out of my way.
Help you follow all the upcoming action with your favorite streamers and in the Apex Legends Global Series. And remember,
the game is not merciful to those who lack imagination.
Stay out of my way.
First fatal.
Getting shot. Someone's got a death wish.
Being shot at. Sweet ball, brother. Me and your enemy here.
Rápido, rápido.
Real, you're better off dead, but I could use the cover. I was the last one. Until the next one. Recharging shields.
Oh my goodness! Okay, let's go!
Brutal and beautiful.
series. It's year number 2, and we have a ton of NA action coming at you today. I'm Persia, and I'm going to be driving the dropship today, and on the mic, we've got Fallout, we've got Onset, and Gaskin hanging out inside the dropship. So we've got you covered on all of those fronts. There's so many great things to look forward to today because our groups are stacked. Fallout, how are we feeling going into day number 4?
On top of the world, especially after the EMEA Broadcast Guild obviously going huge, but now it's North America, baby. We got Sentinels, we got Complexity, Space Station Gaming, who looked so strong last weekend. I'm excited for the day of action here. It's gonna be a great one. Onset, how you feeling, man?
I'm pumped. You probably heard me before the show went live. I've been almost like unfathomably excited. Just sat here making weird noises. I want to get into games. I want to see the action. EMEA was amazing. NA needs to put on a show to match it.
I agree. I am ready to get into the action, and we even have a little bit of a recap video of the NA action from yesterday in case you missed it. So let's take a quick look at that first.
It's game time, baby. Y'all ready to rap? Ready to rap? It's your time.
Thermite grenade! I'm calling for it, Arcstar! Don't stop! No matter what! Play the line! Fast! She'll drop, no matter what! Reach in! I'm down! I'm coming up right now. 50 on my nade. Cracked one. I'm getting in. Hound one. Our team dead.
It's all C9's game. You can see the portal for Desperation coming through. It's just a matter of time before they close this one out. Naughty with 6 kills has to be the kill leader throughout it when it's all said and done. Possibly going to be able to make it to the portal, but not enough time. Cloud9 takes game number 2.
The alternator could be clutch in this late game. Somehow, still 3 squads. The high ground might not work out for them. Avril now the last man standing. Can he deliver for his team? Still 3 squads. The zone's not helping either. Here now, just trying to finish off the job. NRG will be the team focusing on down players with the shotgun. NRG just clean through. That was madness.
Did they not absolutely feast yesterday on set? I could not believe that I was seeing consistency in the plays. They tore it up.
Take away anything from how Cloud9 played yesterday. I thought they were on point. I think that's probably the best we've seen Cloud9 play. And let's just take ourselves back a few months. You know, when the roster change was made, there was so much drama. I was almost closing Twitter every 2 minutes because I was fed up of it. And I said, this is a big move. This is a move from a lineup who isn't happy with second place. They want to take home first place, and it looks like now, after, you know, a couple of weeks are done, it's looking like maybe it was a good move.
Yeah. And I guess try to tag onto that and say they absolutely silenced the community yesterday with their performance. Phenomenal individual player, and they looked so incredibly strong as a result. They're on top of the overall leaderboards, as you see right here. That's the most dominant single performance we've seen yet in the ALGS Pro League. 97 points, Persia.
Yeah, definitely putting up massive numbers. We were impressed by Sentinels before, and Cloud9 said, hold up, it's our turn. And look at this spread, the top 20 here. We're going to get to the bottom 20 in a little bit, but the top 20 has definitely seen some count out from Group C. Onset, what are you thinking about Group D?
I think there's a few teams in here who need a big day, and that's how I look at it. There's a couple of teams who performed extremely well in week 1. But you look across the rest of the lobby, and I'm kind of taking Space Station Gaming and excuse me, Sentinels out of that conversation, because a lot of those teams were in that bottom 20 and they need to step up. And I think this is a huge opportunity for them to do so, to put themselves back into where they think and where maybe their fans at home think they should be.
Safe to touch down.
Exactly. All right, it's time to whip out the microscope and look a little bit closer at some teams to watch. So this is our Lenovo Teams to Watch segment. All right, guys, we've talked a lot about our teams so far, but I want to hear about the 3 that the people at home should really be paying attention to. Fallout, hit me with our first one.
Absolutely. How could you not be talking about Sentinels after their performance last week? 92 points overall, and of those 92 points, 42 of them were kills. They fragged out. Their average placement was 4.33, including 2 first-place finishes, a second-place finish, and this team picking up Lou in their debut looked so incredibly strong. I mean, they were topping up the entire lobby, running away and having their way with every single team. There was a round in a game where Lou took a 1v3 while his teammates were fighting elsewhere, and no problem was able to handle well. Team 2 for me is complexity. And I say complexity with a bit of a question mark, because we don't know which complexity is going to show up. This is the team that was a multi-champion from the summer circuit and the autumn circuit. They dominated back in those early days, kind of fell off in the late winter circuit, didn't qualify for ALGS champs, had an okay performance last time around. But Onset, what is it about complexity? What do they need to do to go big here?
I think it's just momentum. We saw it a lot from the likes of Sentinels, right? Well, first game is massive here for complexity. We know how talented this lineup is, and to be honest with you, I'm sick of saying I need to see results from these boys now. They came 7th place in week 1. Not good enough by their own standards, but I took a quick look at social media. I saw Monsoon there saying, anyone I see on my screen today is going to die. So that is about as big a statement as you could want out of Monsoon. Team 3 for me is Space Station. Zenial, Dropped, and Frex. I just think this team right now is the form team in Apex Legends competitive. The reason I say that, it's not just in tournaments they're getting it done. They got it done in week number 1. They were first place. They ranked up 73 points, which is very, very impressive. But it's their consistency across the week as well. Whenever you're looking at scrims, whenever you're looking at any kind of competitive settings, these 3 players, for whatever reason, seem to find themselves at the top of the leaderboard. I've been super impressed with the addition of Dropped. I think Dropped has been absolutely amazing. He's been instrumental for them, finding great positions towards that end zone, and Zenial has been clutch on Valkyrie, as you can see here, going up into the skies to clean things up with the alternator.
You guys said it perfectly, and for everyone at home, that was your Lenovo Teams to Watch.
Hands off, that's a frenzy for Fusey.
Wings out. The time has come. Talent predictions. I know you guys thought I was going to say gameplay. Soon. Talent predictions first. We got to see who the casting crew is feeling for day number 4. I'm just going to toss it out there. I've been choosing with my heart this entire time, and my pick goes to Team Sheesh. This is a team week over week that we have seen improve and get better and better and better. Now we got Nicewig IGLing. I couldn't agree more. But another big factor to that team is a prize, being the blue and being exactly what Timmy and Nicewig need to make that team function the way it does. Onset, tell me about your pick.
I just want to talk about everyone's picks. It looks like we've really gone overboard here. Outside of yourself, Persia, who's gone with your heart, we've gone for the 2 teams who came first in week 1. I mean, what else can you say? Space Station, I think, in this lobby are going to be able to control the pace of the game that's played at, and that's one of the most difficult down, and I think that Space Station are one of the best at doing it.
Hold on 1 second. You know, you said Space Station can control the pace. How do you control the pace of Sentinels? They play at a different speed. It is Mach speed in which they perform. I don't think anyone's stopping the Sentinel squad, Space Station included. I got Sentinels take, man.
Ooh, we got some head-to-head action going on. I think it's time to go ahead and jump in. I gotta fly this drop ship and drop off our players, of course, onto World's Edge. So, see you guys.
Amazing stuff. Thank you so much, Persia. John, I'm super excited for this game number 1. If nobody at home could tell, I'm pretty hyped about things, all right? I'm ready to go. And I love the fact that we both picked 2 teams who have played such different playstyles as our predictions as well. Space Station, they've tried to lock down positions. They've been one of the best in Apex at doing it. But Sentinels, John, you showed a great point. You said it doesn't matter who's in front of them. If you were in week 1, they just wiped the floor with you. They showed no respect to anyone.
Absolutely, and that's what makes this team so special. 3 players as talented as Lou, Senox, and Crust. Are you kidding me? An absolute dominant team of fraggers. They remind me a lot of NRG in the overall playstyle. They actually don't have that vocal, and while also being a great slayer of a leader in IGL and Sweet Dreams, but all 3 of them are fraggers, much like NRG. So I'm excited to see what Sentinels can do. But then obviously we got G2 Esports, who are obviously looking to put themselves right back on top of the overall leaderboards. We have Complexity, who's trying to prove a point and prove us wrong, to be honest. Who really underperforming over the last few months. I'm excited to see what Complexity can do. Storyline upon storyline of this one on set. It is going to be a phenomenal 6-game series.
Well, it's Sunday night, and you know what that means. It's Apex Legends time. North America is officially live with week 2 of Pro League, and we're going to watch Esports Arena, John, because this is a team who I think are actually going under the radar a little bit. Pretty good performance in week number 1. If you've been watching scrims through the week as well, you'll know that these guys are so good at getting an early spot. A lot of teams calling out, I don't know how they've got there. How have they managed to rotate so quickly? But they find a way, and I do feel that they're one of the teams who really utilize Valkyrie to its best ability.
That's right. They drop Lava City. They get it for free, so it's a good opportunity for them to get some good loot. But look at this rotation they're going to have to make on set. It is a far northwest pull all the way to a Skyhook finish. So max rotation for them. Meanwhile, keep an eye on G2. We talked about them. We hyped them up a lot. Dropping in Thermal Station at the bottom left of your map. They're going to just ride this dead side rotate and should have a fairly easy time rotating. I think this is a favorable zone. Keep a close eye on G2 in this one as well.
It's going to be interesting to watch how they approach things. Space Station Gaming, though, they're going to be very, very happy. They're going to be landing over at Lava Fissure. They don't have too far to go. And that, like I mentioned, one of the best teams are holding down one of those strong spots towards the end game and for the majority of that game. But Sinus, please, they're going to be landing a few early shots here over at Trials in towards Skyhook and some of those teams who are trying to quietly go about their business. But one thing we all know about Trials, one thing we all love about Trials is when you land here, you're guaranteed to leave with some decent loot.
Yeah, that's right. Synced and Wicked, longtime teammates, well before even the Apex days. They've been playing together for a while. Obviously, Synced had a chance to compete with Rogue, aka T-Treb, one of the top streamers in Apex Legends that was on Ranked is Harder, actually won a championship, came out of nowhere that squad and proved maybe perhaps Ranked was harder as they dominated in the late days of the Winter Circuit, qualified for the Winter Circuit playoffs. Excited to see what they can do, and of course we got to show some love to Sentinels, who are still dropping in the former Sorting Factory area where obviously they used to always drop. Now Lava Siphon, same location, same spot. It's a great position to drop because you're very central map, you get good loot. So keep an eye on Sentinels as they have to make their rotation pretty far as well. I think they're going to rotate right behind Aim Assist if I'm correct, on the west side of the map.
Let's scope this quadrant.
And one thing I want to talk about a little bit is, from my personal opinion on things, and something that definitely contributed to the success of Sentinels in week 1 was game 1. That 1v1 clutch that Crust managed to pull off, it put all sorts of momentum behind them. It got the energy high, and they are an emotional team. I'm going to say it, Sentinels. We know some of the characters that are on there, and when they get rolling, it's difficult to stop. But as we know, John, and as you know, if there are teams sometimes where things don't go right in that first game, it can affect the rest of the game. One game 1 here to get that 5 up.
Yeah, that's a great point. And, I think for Complexity, they have a good opportunity when the zone actually ends up on them in the northeast side of the map. They obviously drop in the north side by climbing Strahl Esports, our Mexican team representing for Latin America. Well done from them. Vamos, Estral, as we have them now currently under duress and on the retreat.
The smoke make them broke.
Well, my Spanish is not good, so I'm not going to try and join in on that. Maybe that's something for Bravo to come back and give us a little lesson on. But Strahl Esports now just smartly actually backing out of this situation, having just managed to do a little bit of damage, maybe use that caustic ult as well to try and force the team off of height. They recognize they didn't have the position that they would have wanted to, so now they've backed up smartly, going to reposition and just take a few moments here to reset.
Yeah, it looks like they'll be able to reset. So a wise decision from them, actually backing off of that countdown location, especially because guess what, you got Xset, you got No Cocoa Puffs and Co, who actually had a great showing in week 1. Kudos to them after they performed incredibly well. So we'll see what they can do here. We'll keep a close eye on that squad as well, as Strahl able to back out, reset, and things are going to stabilize here. And as they do, I'd actually love to take a look at the overhead map in a full screen just to see what those rotations are looking like. As we talked about G2 hugging the west side, it looks like they're able to rotate, they're able to be in circle right by countdown, and look at the clumping. When we say clumping, that's where all the teams are clumping in one area. Right now, it's over in countdown. So many teams in that area. We'll see if G2 decides to join in the action and join the fight here momentarily.
Yeah, I want to talk about Secret Service as well, the team that you just mentioned, who are currently inside the countdown. They had some real technical issues last week, and they managed to pull through and actually put up a decent amount of points towards the end. They were having problems with communication with a Discord. It was all everything. You know, honestly, it really tested our mental game. But sometimes being tested in your mental game is important because it means that when things start to go right, also when things go wrong, you can bounce back. You can find a way to recover, and that's exactly what they did. But now Sentinels up on top of the central structure inside Epicenter. No surprise to see them playing Edge again. Excessive, John, when we've had the influx of Valkyrie too.
That still runs Bloodhound. Gets me all types of excited, but Complexity finds himself in the fight right now.
Yeah, they certainly do. Reptar is in all sorts of problems here. He's missing a couple of shots as well. It's 2v2 as Shiny has managed to take the time at least to get that battery off. He's going to go for the res as well. Interesting to see if he has a gold bag or if Monsoon's just going to be back with a slither of health. It is going to be that slither. The missile swarm comes in and Complexity are getting out of dodge. They are out there.
Yeah, they do not want this fight. They're in a disadvantage. No wise decision. All three of them on the same exact page. It's one thing you got to say about Complexity. One of the most well-coordinated teams. Their comms are on point. If possible, I would love to, if we could, jump into a listen and we'll see if we can get that action for y'all. Because Complexity, because we jump back over with Complexity. Looks like they're going to re-enter the fight here. They want static on set.
Hey, Monsoon said it. If you're on my screen, you're going to die. And that looks like he is living and dying by that motto as he tries to find where this team has escaped to. They've got inside of that house right now. Reptar trying to move up with Shiny. And if they're smart about Complexity and they manage to formulate this push, they into
the comms of Complexity. We do have them listening right.
One's cracked. I'm going to get on the other side.
I'm queuing off the door in 2 seconds. I can't. Fuck. You can also just look for beacon here too. Yeah, queue off the door inside. They might just swing one of us too, be careful. Yep.
They're just all fighting back.
Wings up.
I have no nades.
Reloading.
Yeah.
Go for beacon here.
Coming up.
They're just 100%.
I'm hitting it. Just hold on, I'm holding it. Good.
Reloading.
In the fucking Ravens?
Yeah, let's go. Yeah.
Alright, yeah, let's run out.
Wings up.
Damn, dude, I fucking choked on that raid.
I'm gonna queue.
142. I'm running really low on light now.
Yeah, me too. Damn. Alright, let's just get in Skyhook, scrap fucking info, and then just get in Raven.
We might be taking too long on Ravens too.
Fangs out, folks.
Are
They
they on
take
the
this
front?
one, they take it all.
Nope.
I think there's only gonna be one team playing Ravens. I got light, some more light as well. I also have light, so.
So looking for an All-Star.
Or more light here, Johnny?
Bring it.
Well, you had the constant Complexity there, John. Sorry to jump in. I'm getting overexcited today, John. I've got to be honest with you. I'm so excited for the action. I love the idea, though, from Complexity. Again, that's twice we've been on board with them, and twice they've tried to push a team. I love the aggression, but also, like you said quite rightly, the willingness to disengage when they realize things aren't going their way.
That's right. I do enjoy the aggression. One thing that I feel like is missing
Wings out.
is finishing with that aggression, staying committed.
A fear factor, right?
Exactly.
A fear factor.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, and
Charging
that's
on my
another thing
shield.
with their team comp. Obviously, running Valkyrie instead of going for Bloodhound or Octane or more aggressive team comp. I feel like their identity, their DNA as a team, is just a high fragging team, kind of like a Sentinels. And instead, they've opted for a little too smart, too cheeky of a team
Incoming care
composition
pack.
and play style. They're over 8 things like that. I'd like to see them just get a little more loose.
One thing I like about Complexity with recent changes to comps, etc., is how Bloodhound has fallen out of favour with quite a few teams. So they will be able to be a little bit more sneaky. Bad Boys, though, who are still inside of this building for now. They're down to 2. However, they should be able to get forced advantages, which Fate as the Gibby will use the dome, use the defensive bombardment to force the team down off his end. Pretty low on everything.
That's right. Bad Boys. Catch a break, it seems like. Now with SXG just hunting them. It's like they're a trio of gazelles with lions just swarming. In their lobby last week, SXG can frag.
Yeah, that was nuts, that game. It really was. And I love the extra bullets that went into a few death boxes right at the end of it. You know me, John. That's me all over. A few extra bullets never hurt anyone, right? But SXG now, I don't know if they're just trying to hit this beacon or if they're just trying to pin this team in. If they do get the information that they haven't got many meds to work with and they get some damage done, that might be the signal to push it.
That's right. Ooh, nice little cheeky wingman shot there. Connects for a second. Oh, that's going to be the initial. That's exactly what you need to push this here. Gibraltar's not going to have time to heal back up. Great finish. Great shots by Golden. And they're what I would have loved for Complexity to do. Finish what you started. Finish that fight. SXG shows that they are the aggressive team that's going to capitalize on an opportunity like that.
Well, you called it. They fragged out last week in one game, and they are fragging out the start of this one. Big wipe for them. 17 squads now remaining as we have lost our first 3. And the zone was a very interesting one because you're seeing a lot of teams down at the southern side of Skyhook right now. It looks like it's pulling away from Skyhook towards the open ground, the uphill ground towards Countdown. So some of these teams will have to make tough rotations. You've got the likes of Torrent. You've got the likes of Sheesh right in the middle there as well. Speaking of which, now we're jumping on board with Tim.
That's right. On board with Sheesh. This is Persia's prediction. We got Nicewig back in the ALGS, and boy, oh boy, did we miss seeing Nicewig compete week over week over week. Former champion. We've seen him win before, and excited to have Nicewig back as Timmy's having some fun here as well.
I love Timmy, man. How can you? Yeah. If you find someone who says they doesn't like Timmy, they're not a person worth knowing. Is how I see things. The man is a living legend, a meme star, everything. And I tell you what, the man is absolutely nuts at the game as well. For now, though, a couple of wingman shots just being exchanged across the street with the Torrent team. I think that is just in the building across from them. But they've got a pretty tough move to make now. They're bunkered up in this building. They will be safe for the next zone, but it's the one after that they will be slightly concerned about.
Yeah, that's right. And it's been great to see Timmy competing in competitive Apex. So we've always known he has the skill. Obviously, top streamer, top player in Apex. It's fun to see him here in the ALGS Pro League. And Torrent, though, on the other side, we're going to jump on board with Urice Hill and RKN. Urice, young man from Canada. So impressive, his trajectory, his growth. Torrent being really established themselves as the top team in the offseason, but had a really disappointing first week. Only 15 overall points, got 18th place overall, so that's 0 points in the standings right now. And they're looking to have a bounce back game here in week number 2. Meanwhile, Sheesh, Timmy, perhaps a little too much trolling. He gets knocked.
Yeah, he was having fun. Now he's not quite having as much fun as he's going to have to burn through a Phoenix kit to get his HP and his shields back. Only got 2 damage to do, though, until that Evo shield will be leveled up to purple. So you can see the idea behind it. But let's talk about Torrent a little bit, because as he gets his Evo shield leveled up here, Timmy, Torrent did not have a good week 1, like you mentioned. And it was, if you listened to them on Twitter, you read the socials, then you would have seen it was because they weren't happy with some of those zone pulls. They felt they got really robbed with how they played and in the build-up, how they've been preparing. But you've got to adapt, as we're now seeing a fight go down between OXG and that's good.
Or Esports Arena, ESA. They got second place last week behind Space Station. They're continuing where they left off. They take out Oxygen, who had a disappointing week number 1. That's Kubsky, former Flashpoint. Really popped off early on, about a year and a half ago in Summer Circuit, and then of course in Autumn Circuit. But since it's been a little bit quiet, meanwhile, Astral finds himself in a tough spot here.
Yeah, this is looking really tough. They do have the Corsair barrels to play with, and people always forget sometimes that it's not just the barrels slowing people down and stopping that entry. It's the lines of sight that get denied as well. If you pop those barrels, it makes those fights so awkward. As Enemigo is going to have a look over the shoulder here and see if he can get some peak damage. But it's still down in his back though. They haven't been able to get that res for now. So Astral Esports kind of all over the place at the moment with just 2 players alive.
Yeah, nice nade to try and buy some time, but they're going to have to do it in This is a 2v2 with the team sprinkling some damage and third partying from afar. I guess we're going to cost them. So time is of the essence, and time is for SXG, but time is in favor of Astral.
Astral got the ability to the team in front of them has to make that push. The zone will be closing in about 30 seconds, and that's going to start to really chip away at the house. However, you can see Astral Esports, they're kind of slowing things down for everyone at the moment. They need to commit to this fight if they want to have a chance of resetting and rotating in. So a tough spot for them to be in. The longer this fight takes, the longer Astral
in on SXG, but
that's not a countdown.
Right, meanwhile, in the kill feed, quick update, we have the clashing of the Titans, SSG and G2 fighting one another. We saw 100 Thieves camps themselves are looking to bounce back. Meanwhile, XZ finds himself a clean wipe. Great job from them. Shield swap should come in here.
SXG out, 100 Thieves out, Center as well. However, notable teams falling early in our game number 1. 13 squads still remaining, and the question for me, Furia, they're in a fantastic position right now. They have the highest vantage point over all the other teams who are trying to make their way towards this zone. As I said, the question though is, what's happening in Skyhook right now? How are those teams managing?
Does a good job winning that fight